Nice shot.
Oh my god!
Holy.
The ALGS has a brand new feel here in year 5. We've got legend bands, we've got teams trying to make history, and we've also got teams coming out from qualifying to see if they can put their stamp what has been 4 years of an amazing esports story. My name is Randy, I'm your host, and I got some great people alongside with me to kick off the Americas. That's right, the Americas here in year 5. And of course, I'm talking about Onset and Gaskin, Mark and Dan. Mark, we started earlier today with EMEA. It showed us a lot of new looks for Apex. I expect that North America will keep giving us those glances at a game that is constantly evolving, especially in this year 5.
I mean, the EMEA show was an amazing preview of what we can expect from the entire year. I think Legends Bands is going to be such a fun addition. It makes every game so much more watchable when you just don't quite know how those games are going to play out. Plus, of course, in the Americas, we've got some huge new rosters as well. So let's get into it. I'm gassed.
Dan, I mean, he's gassed. He's Gaskin. Dan as well. I mean, things have shaken up. And I think in this point, when you look at not just EMEA, but in America, we have some new faces, you know, old historied roster like TSM no longer together, not a part of this. There's new faces now who have a chance to step in and become the team that we're all talking about.
Yeah, I mean, there was the talk of Falcons being the super team when that was made. And now you look around and there are maybe 3-4 other teams that could possibly be put up there as super teams as well when you consider the accolades that are behind them. It's going to be an incredibly exciting time in the Americas, but you've also got to bear in mind that in the EMEA region, we just saw a team that came through PSQ win week 1. So will it be an unknown team, an underdog that maybe comes out and wins things here in Americas?
You know, EQ, we talked to him as well from Infinite winning in EMEA just a few hours ago. Great question to pose, Dan. Will we see that happen here in North America? Let's take a look at who's participating today as we jump into our teams. It's A versus B, which means C will have a little bit of a break. We'll highlight something going on with Virtus Pro, though, just to keep you up to date with them. LG, another team that won't be participating, but I know a lot of eyes are on some of these squads, from Envy to 100 Thieves, all the way to VDR, Reps' new selection of teammates. It's weird to see Reps on a team with anybody other, well, I mean, at this point, Verholst. I mean, Hal, we got used to that one, but now those guys have split. What's going to be the story here today as we take a look at that one? And I think it is important, guys, Mark, just top down, to recognize the amount of talent, but also the fact that, yeah, there's a little bit of a jigsaw here, and not sure where that puzzle is going to fit in terms of all these pieces now, you know, in a new zone, new year. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the returning names as well. You got the likes of Rambo coming back in as well. You know, a player who was up there at the top of the fragging leaderboards in earlier previous years. So it's going to be a great season. I think that you look at, you know, 5 years into an esports life cycle, usually these teams and these players at some point start to come together at the top of the rosters, right at the top of the leaderboards. The best performing players all start to come together, and now we're seeing, like you mentioned, those quote unquote super teams start to form, and it's not just one anymore, it's 5 or 6 that you look at and you're like, this is a potential championship winning roster.
Yeah, you look at some of those names too. If you're noticing, we do have a few of those pulling issues, not to make it a big deal, but Don not going to be starting in place of MT today for Shopify Rebellion. He would love to. I've talked to Don. He feels he probably could do it, but he's going to be better used here, just coaching and helping out. Dan, let's talk a little bit for those jumping back in. You know, you might not have caught EMEA if you're in North America like me, and you're just basically kind of waking up, throwing on some Sunday TV. Now it's NA. What's new? What are the kind of pieces for these teams that if you're just jumping back in, we need to be aware of, especially returning threats they're going to be playing today?
Yeah, let's talk returning trios. I mean, we spoke about super teams. The one we have to talk about, Team Falcons. They had a lot of ups and downs. maybe more downs than they would have liked ups in the last season, but they had moments of relief, as you can see here, ecstasy, where maybe they thought they were going to be eliminated and then suddenly they do show that moment of class, but they never really reached the heights that I think were expected of them. But they are staying together. No one's getting dropped. They are trusting Waltzy, who was the main player that was under a little bit of threat, I feel. And I think Falcons are here to prove a point this season and maybe reach that super team status. Elsewhere, we of course have more teams showing up. Another super team, Shopify Rebellion. You have got 2-time LAN champion Zainu on this roster alongside MT, alongside Koiful. I mean, they showed that they really are a squad that everyone has to be scared of because they have so much threat, so much presence, but the fighting ability of this roster when they come together as a 3. And I think Zainu is one of those key reasons. He has been touted the best player in the world by some of the analysts within the ALGS scene. So we'll have to see whether Shopify Rebellion can step up and continue their journey. We also still see Liquid Alienware competing on our screens, a team that always excites me, and of course our BLGS champions from year 4. They took the first ever BLGS victory, and in quite an emphatic fashion, really very exciting, their journey in the BLGS, not only to get there to the finals, but then to go on and win it. And I think they'll be looking to try and lift another trophy, but this one maybe an actual trophy this season rather than just the BLGS trophy. They are a team that could be a real threat, not just today, but throughout this entire season. Rain, what have you got?
I mean, to me, it's the conversation not just of returning trios, but chemistry. We know that this landscape is kind of created. Where will the puzzle pieces fit? Well, 100 Thieves is maybe the biggest question mark that everyone has. This org that is established across the world in esports as a premier dominant org, now having 3 different players who have all lifted trophies themselves, albeit on different teams. And when you look at Jim Burton and Verhulst against each other, Phony, maybe the person that didn't get as much love when Zainu and Koiful split away with him in SSG in last year, where they just had won, now having a chance at redemption to lead a new team, clearly with some of the best fraggers ever. A big shout out to Nicewig, who is watch partying as well. We mentioned the BLGS and also a part of that video with 100 Thieves. That's exciting stuff. I'm looking for them and how they can fit, because we know the talent is certainly there. Now we also need to look at a team called VDR. For me, VDR is the next big experiment. And, you know, I love the idea of being, you know, science and testing things, but you really cannot say, no matter what is going to happen with these guys. Reps, Deeds, Vaxon, you look at Reps here and his moment of being at his lowest. This is kind of a part of the hero's journey that everybody who is going to end up on the top, though, has to go through. They've got to hit that down. They've got to have stones thrown at them. They have to bounce back and get through the adversity. And certainly a guy like Reps, who in his life has been the most consistent thing for everyone else, while everyone around him has changed from teammates to rosters, we do love to see that he's now maybe finding a roster that can stick together and make things happen. Heading more into it as well, NRG, look at them. I mean, this is a team back towards, you know, 100 Thieves that is a huge name in it, and Timmy is joining the ranks of them with Yanya and Gildersons. This is kind of a new, this is a new look in terms of, obviously, really just going back to it. NRG, can you find your way, your chemistry? I don't think that yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, when you look at Timmy and Gildersons, they've got experience with each other. They've been on Moist together. This actually allows them to see if they can build upon that, but what will ultimately end up happening. And I think that's where you have to look to another team like Envy, where, again, stars align, but can they find their success? I mean, going into it, that's the last team we have to talk about for me in terms of the chemistry question mark. It is Envy, and we may not bring their graphic up, but we'll just kind of focus on them. Just to say that this is another squad with Dropped, Zap, and Sykes that is, you know, there's a lot of questions out there. And I think this is the big year for North America where the shakeup is upon us, where we've got all this talent and everyone is kind of trying their best to figure out where and how that talent can be utilized to be successful. Obviously, Mark, there's a lot of questions to be asked. Hopefully we get some answers. I'm sure these next 6 games will do that. But who do you have your eye on, especially that maybe we haven't focused on heading into North America here?
Well, let's talk talk dark horses by starting off by talking about a colorful horse, because it's going to be Stallions, Alba LA Crook and Enemy. Now, we know that it was maybe a difficult champs for them, not the success they would have wanted, but let me tell you, in the off season, this roster has looked particularly dangerous, and I feel like a lot of it is due to the adaptability of this squad when it comes to legend bans. Alba LA is one of those players. I mean, think back to season 1 on TSM. He was always trying to push them to try something new. Remember the caustic arguments that he had with Hal? He was always trying to move forward with the meta, and now with that deep legend pool, he's one of the best players in the world when it comes to experimenting, being able to flip from one legend to a next, dependent upon the map and the situation they find themselves in. So Stallions, for me, certainly a team to watch. Now scrims are done, it's time to do it when it comes to the Pro League. Next team up is going to be, I can't remember, it's Oblivion, and this is another team, when we talk about scrims, by the way, that you should be keeping your eye on, because, you know, fun splits from the roster from Nocturnal that he was with for so long and form something new. And when you're looking at a player who's as established as Fun was, you expect there to be some really big names alongside him. Now, I mean this with the biggest of respect, of course, to Jelly and Blinkster, but maybe not the two names that jump out of you as being teammates that a player with the talent and the success of Fun has had may go for, but he sees something in them and it's proven to be something that is the right stuff for them to have success. So I'm very excited to see what Oblivion do. I think they've got a lot of, confidence coming into this week as well of how they've been performing in scrim, so keep your eye on Oblivion. Next up, we're talking about Ape Gang, and this is from the PSQ. They've looked very good. They pretty much dominated the PSQ in their way to this split of the Pro League. You've got Kumzi, you've got Wi-Fi, and you've got Bursty on this lineup, and I think there's just another team, when you look back at what happened in EMEA a little bit earlier, that you can't write these PSQ teams off. They can certainly throw a spanner amongst the works, and you know, you look at these PSQ standings that we're going to show you, you can see exactly why we've got to keep our eyes on them. They came in first place, they qualified through, they look very good, and if you know anything about the PSQ and those finals, those lobbies are very difficult to get out of. So Ape Gang certainly going to have something to say here in this Pro League.
One of the great stats that we kind of head into is that we had 55 unique legend compositions heading into this America's broadcast from earlier this morning. And part of it is because of the legend bans, guys. Year 5 has changed. That's one of the biggest things that has really shifted, not just the core element of Apex Legends in terms of how it's played, but also the people that can stand out. I remember Reps tweeted and said about these, one of the rare tweets that people get excited about right when they hear it, is that this is going to be able to show off what I can do. Dan, walk me through your thoughts and kind of people jumping in on what legend bans really have done in year 5 to help elevate and also expand the reach of each of these teams.
I mean, just to put that into perspective, in year 4, the opening week, we only had 7 different compositions that were on display. That really just shows how deep your pool has to be. Another example is going to be our EMEA winners, Infinite. One of their players played 6 different legends in 6 different matches. You need someone who is versatile. This comes along with a few more changes that are in the ALGS as well. We've had map changes. World's Edge has been removed. Broken Moon has been added alongside the legend bans that we are talking about. And of course, the new playoff point system that we are seeing. And one thing we learned in EMEA is it's created just a little bit of difference in every single game. It was far more exciting to not know how a team was going to play instead of them just Valkyrie ulting over like every other team was. Instead, you have to try and navigate your way through without a certain legend. Alter will be there for map 4, but then suddenly map 5. How do you get through that choke point without the portal being available? And back to your point that you were making about individuals getting the chance to shine Rain Day, I mean, I think we are going to witness certain players who are good on certain legends have their moment in the spotlight, but also those who are good at loads of different legends will ultimately be the most valuable players on that team, because they might have to play a Wraith and an Alter and an Ashe and maybe even a Newcastle. Who knows what you get put on, but you have to be making sure you're at your A game with every single legend.
EQ also noted, the winner of Infinite and the person we interviewed, that it's more difficult on the fraggers who are having to go through those lineups of choices versus somebody who can anchor, maybe play a Watson. We saw a Caustic in there, but somebody who could just stay consistent with that. If you want to know exactly how those legend bans work, I've got a little graphic for you, and I might talk over it, or we might just see it right here. All right, so what you guys are seeing here is for game number 1, if you have the most played character being Ashe, that character will then be banned for the next game, and that will probably stay the same. In rare situations where you say, well, what if we run out, like in a match point, we're at 12 games, 13 games, and there's nobody of a certain role, we will refresh back, kind of like dodgeball rules, where the first person voted out gets right back in. But ultimately, that is exactly what Dan and I set up for you guys. Mark, you know, this is I think a bold change, but also the way Apex is being designed right now, very bold. Skirmishers, a lot of those legends we did see get flexed have gotten some major changes too. So it just feels like the game and the esport kind of taking that head on and going in the direction of saying, be ready to adapt, get with it or get lost, essentially, pros.
Yeah, one thing I love about it as well is I think the timing. I mentioned this in the EMEA show, right? The timing of this with so many different legends being relatively balanced when it comes to, you know, picks. There's no like class, like the support class meta that we had in the ALGS championships, where you had to play or felt forced to play certain legends because of the strength that they had in the legend pool. Well, now everyone is kind of viable. You can jump on any legend and still have some success. Of course, you're still going to want to put a composition together that's going to allow you to both frag and also survive. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And I think the best example was what we saw in that final game today in EMEA, where no Ultra, no Newcastle. Boy, did E-District feel very, very different with a zone which didn't have a lot of playable zone. It was just carnage. It was everybody just trying to find a way to get points, taking fights outside of zone, because they knew that survivability was going to be very, very difficult in those final moments.
Yeah, it was great to witness. I'm sure we'll see a lot in the Americas here today. And for those who are catching up with us before we get started, we have a new segment in year 5 as well. New legend bans, new buffs. It's called Why Yeah, or, you know, what you might have missed. Either way, we don't know if the acronym is going to catch on. We're going to try it. The first thing I'll talk about here is Virtus Pro. We know that in Group C, they'll be eagerly awaiting and watching the broadcast from home, but hopefully they pay a little bit more attention than what happened earlier these last couple of weeks. Let's roll the tape.
It's like all in zone though.
Bro,
I guess we have the meds.
Mirage is kind of insane, bro. I just acted like a decoy and caught the kid running in a straight line, like it's some Valorant shit. Slayer. That was actually funny.
Do we have any back?
You have one, or someone has one. This guy had one too. Oh, yo.
Oh, we all gonna die? Slayer, come to me.
Oh my god. Oh.
Yo, holy my god! I didn't know it was zone 3, bro.
Yo!
Alright, guys, scrub the fucking VODs.
How do we delete the VOD? How do we delete the VOD?
Fucking VODs. Scrub the VODs. Scrub the VODs.
No!
The scrub of the VOD did not happen, by the way. That's how we actually have that clip. Big moment there. Obviously had to poke some fun at that onset, but what else has been going on throughout catching up here with Apex?
Well, I mean, I'll turn it back to a more positive note. I'll say the VP were limit testing there, just seeing how, you know, how long it was not good. Let's talk about Reject, because they've got a new roster and they announced it in the best possible way. Now, if you're an org watching, there's been a lot of creativity in how they've been announcing their rosters, and I feel like Reject have done a pretty good job of this. The artwork, absolutely stunning, beautiful, and if you're a fan of the anime style of artwork that you can see in front of you, you're going to be very, very happy with what you see right here. You've got Miak, you've got Reagan, and you've got Euris coming back into the scene as well over in APAC North. And I mean, I'm actually going to stop talking for a few seconds so that everybody can enjoy this, because it is truly a thing of beauty. Beautiful, right? Like, truly beautiful way to announce a roster, very unique. And I hope that some other orgs see that as a potential, you know, marker for everyone to try and meet, because that's very, very impressive stuff from them.
All right, we're also going to look at the results from EMEA match day 1 that happened just a few hours ago. And I'm just going to stop talking so we can watch and appreciate how good everything was. That's a joke. I'm not really going to stop talking. It was a fantastic day that we had. We saw excitement. We saw legends changed every single time, not just because of bans, but because people were trying to adapt to the meta that was forming within those games as well. And we saw the rise of Infinite, a PSQ team coming through and taking the #1 spot. Other big stories, Na'Vi getting into the top 4, so world champs coming back in and still performing at the tippy top. And also Alliance were able to stay alive and survive survived so often that they finished in the top 3 despite having such difficult zones. But it was Infinite who took the crown, not only with a couple of victories, but also just making sure they were the #1 team across the board. They did an excellent job of changing compositions because of legend bans, and I'm very excited to see what the America region does here, Rainday.
Yeah, I'm so excited too. And, you know, one person who has been around and loves getting some of that time with us at LAN, on desk when we can, but is also very busy doing his own journey in life and YouTube is, of course, Jumba. He put together a great piece on Alliance. Now, I'm not going to, again, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. He said from chokers to champions. As a YouTuber myself, I understand you got to clickbait a little bit, but a group stage team no longer. The story of Alliance, the reaction in his comments is so positive. And also for us last year, being able to witness them hoist that trophy, to see what that looks like for them after EMEA needing that for a long time, it just felt like a cathartic moment. So go check it out on his YouTube channel as well. I don't know his exact YouTube, youtube.com/JumbaGW for his videos, guys. And obviously, Mark, we love Jumba. He hangs out with us and is a huge feature at LAN.
Yeah, he's awesome. That's all I have to say about it. Jumba is an awesome person, awesome guy to hang out with, and make some amazing content as well. A lot of videos on his channel that you want to check out if you're new to the ALGS for sure, because there's some great history that he puts together, and the way that he explains some of those big moments throughout Apex history is certainly a good way to get up to date.
Yeah, we got some great storytellers in Apex as well, you guys included. You're about to have your chance to tell the story of Americas very, very soon. But if you want to create your own story, you feel like you want to navigate how things will go for you and kind of focus on certain characters in that novel that you're trying to watch today, well, check it out on Face It. You can watch your own way. You can highlight the player, the person that you're most interested in. You can see the team and their rotations, how they operate in this new year 5. What legends do they pick? Why did they decide to go for that route, knowing, you know, that maybe they are a little hindered here by some of these legend bans? How will they adjust? All of that easily able for you to check out. And you can even clip it on Face It as well. If you go to faceit.com/watch, you can ALGS your own way. So always have a chance to see what you care most about. Guys, there's something else just so you watching at home know. If you are chatting with us on X, on Twitch, on YouTube at Play Apex Esports, or at Play Apex on Twitch, you might be in the conversation. Let us know what you think, because we have a feature coming up at halftime where we'll highlight your comments. So make sure to be engaged, comment, get involved, chat. Let us know what you think, because we're going to be honoring that and putting it to the test. And, you know, maybe we'll argue with you. Maybe you'll be on our side. Maybe not. I heard Dan and I might have an argument coming up at halftime. We'll find out. So you guys stay involved in the convo. Guys, let's get started. We've talked enough. It's America's. It's game number 1. Mark, Dan, take it away.
Let's go. Let's get into this. It is going to be the first week of the Americas, Dan. Some new teams coming together. A lot of new fun. And I think I tweeted out after the EMEA show that we had a little bit earlier. After what we saw in those 6 games, I genuinely feel like this might be the most fun year of Apex Legends we've ever had. There is so much to talk about and so much that changes from map to map now.
Yeah, I think that you can get a completely different game despite it being on the same map, because we are seeing such different selection of the legends due to the legend ban. When it was first announced, I was kind of asking myself, you know, how much is this realistically going to change it? Are we just going to see the same teams playing the same comp? But we're starting to see something develop where people are trying to avoid the bans, trying to get past the bans by playing, let's say, a Watson, for example, as your controller. She doesn't get banned because only 4 or 5 teams, maybe even less, are playing her. So you get to play her throughout the entirety, at least of Stormpoint. Maybe you change on E-District to a Caustic or something like that, but map dependent, of course, and we are going to be playing Stormpoint and E-District. But one thing I will tell you is every game is going to be different, even if we have that rare occasion where the zone is the same. It's going to be a different game because the legends are going to be different. So that's what's exciting for me.
We only save that for LAN, Dan, where every single zone goes north or south. We know that. We know that. We'll talk us through the POI draft here, because this is what's going to be happening here on Stormpoint.
Yeah, this is where everyone's going to be dropping on Stormpoint, and we have seen so far that Stormpoint has been the priority for most of these teams when it comes to their selection as well, because some of these POIs are a little bit more desirable than those of E-District. I mean, certainly for EMEA, almost everyone, 18 teams prioritized Storm Point over E-District. And I'll have to double check those numbers on the screen to see whether it's the same here for Americas. But here we go, Mark. I can't wait.
Here we go then, everybody. We are back. Year 5 of the ALGS has officially started for the Americas. We've got the ALGS Open in what feels like just a few weeks' time now. But before we get there, we've got to really set the table for everybody to expect what to see when we get to New Orleans. We're starting off with the new team. Pulled together some of the best fraggers in the world with a LAN-winning IGL. It's Phony, it's Jim Burn, and of course, it's Big E.
I'm so excited for this team, by the way, because you put all these pieces together and on paper, this is a championship winning team. I don't think there is any doubt about that, and I don't think anyone would really disagree with that. The question is, how does it work when it actually gets put into practice? And they've had plenty of practice in scrims. There's been ups, there has been downs, but how will it go now we're in a competitive environment for the first time in months? This is the look of the land then. This is where we're going to be heading over towards Ceto Station and between the mill. And you also get to see all those legends. We are expecting a lot of Ash. Ash is likely to be the first ban, as it always is, really, for any of these teams and these series that go down.
Yeah, a lot of Catalyst in the lobby in the Americas as well, something to note. So we're expecting that Catalyst might go out a little bit earlier than what we saw in EMEA, but we'll have to see how those legend bans play out. When we talk about zone, though, it looks like Ceto Station is going to be the main POI of focus here. And just looking across Storm Point at the moment, it looks like not too many teams have left as yet to head in towards Ceto. Finally, a couple of teams start to make their way, but for Locked In, one of the newer teams that have come together and fought their way into the Pro League, this is a very, very good zone for them.
This is so different to EMEA as well when you look across these legend compositions. I mean, it's a 100% pick rate for Ash, by the way. A lot of Catalyst and a lot of Newcastle. It looks like Ash, Newcastle, Catalyst seems to be the most popular, and many a team are going for it. You've got a few fuses, a few cryptos going under the radar a little bit for people trying to play the off meta so they can keep going with something else, but we're going to have to see a lot of teams develop. I would not be surprised if we see Ash, then Catalyst, then Newcastle banned here, and teams having to change as we go into E-District.
Well, a team that you really can't not talk about when it comes to the ALGS is Falcons. Whether you're a lover of Falcons and you support the boys, or if you're one of those people who wants to see them fail. Either way, we know that Falcons always draw attention, and early on here you can see they're on the Trident, as they normally are. They always play for a POI that, of course, has that Trident. We know how strong that they can be, especially on open zones like we might actually be seeing here in our game at number 1. So I feel like a good start is very, very important here for Falcons. We know how much the psychology of how games are going can affect their further performance, so a strong game 1 for them is going to be a great start.
It would be. I mean, they've done really well in scrims again. Like, I think they know how to play the game at this point, and they are another squad that can really benefit from the legend bans because they have a deep
my
pool.
Goodness.
And you can see what Zero can do. Doesn't matter what gun is going to be in his hand. They will keep that team at bay, and they will hold this position on the northeast side. But I think they will continue to traverse a little bit further towards the zone.
Well, I actually want to talk a little bit about Zero, because if you've been watching scrims recently and you've been in his stream, you will notice that all the talk usually is about his IGLing skill, how good he is at commanding the troops, getting them into playable spots, and how he navigates those end games. But let me tell you, mechanically, with that scout in his hand and those P20s, he has been absolutely ridiculous. He has been putting out so much damage, clutching so many times for them. And at the moment, Empire are going to have to look to clutch, and that's just by escaping what is a lot of pressure coming from Sonote.
Empire had a successful scrim lately when these two scrim teams did go up against each other. They finished top 8, if I remember correctly, really going toe-to-toe with some of the greatest teams in the world. So 8th place. If they were to manage that today, I think they would be delighted. But of course, different when you get into a competitive environment. They're going to be on the southwest tip at the moment, closer towards Sonote, so they're going to have to move a little bit further in. But teams starting to gather around Ceto Station now. This is where we assume the zone is going to be heading, or at least in that vicinity. So it's not the worst area to try and hold.
Well, this is Ceto itself. A couple of teams starting to stack up. One thing about Ceto is you look at the main building, not a lot of playable spots in there, maybe a couple of floors. But as we turn our attention away from Ceto over towards Trident, 100 Thieves, who we saw dropping right at the north side of the map on Zeus Station, well, they've got a little bit of pressure on them at the moment. It's going to be Board who are in front of them.
Yeah, a team that really struggled in scrims. Or only put up a few points recently, so could be cannon fodder in this lobby if they play like that. And at the moment, Falcons are also hunting down a team. Flat's going to be below them, and they've already been able to get one knock. And Waltzy's just trying to scout the area to see if they can find any more. Couple of our big hitting teams here, Mark, showing aggression early on.
Under Thieves, right on cue, flying in now onto Nano from Flat. He's trying to do what he can to stay alive, but Jim Burton with the P20s is just about good enough. And 15 HP to play with in reserves for him in that fight. And Under Thieves will be able to collect the final pieces there by the looks of things as well. Excuse me, it's actually Falcons as we swap back over who get the final pieces of Flat. So a combination of both super teams. Unfortunately, you don't want to be in the middle of that because that's kind of what happens.
That was a sandwich you definitely don't want to be the meat of. 100 Thieves and Falcons will pick up the pieces on either side, but it looks like 100 Thieves are the ones that would have to push into Falcons with their rotation, so we'll have to keep an eye on where they try and move. But for now, they're thinking about teams that are north of them because there is two. No, actually, just one, sorry. It's Board. Board are going to be still above them, and that's where 100 Thieves are currently paying their attention toward.
Just trying to check on Falcons' position at the moment. I think they were looking for a potential third, but they are over at checkpoint at the moment, still playing up on the high ground. So that kind of cuts and limits some of the rotational options here for Under Thieves. Plenty of evacs to play with. Of course, they've got the Ash Port as well if they want to go underneath and just rip their way past where Falcons find themselves. And I will say, I think game number one with the legends that are available, rotation options are a premium here. You have the Catalyst, you have Ash, you have so many options to go from A to B across open ground that this is where you see a lot of teams stacking up towards the end game. As I say that, though, take a look at that zone.
I'd rather not. That's one of those
you'd rather be a team who has picked Newcastle.
You want to look away from that one if you are a non-Newcastle team, that's for sure. I mean, CTE taking advantage, a quick old zip in as they take one of the few buildings that are actually available. FURIA are going to be fine over towards Mill, and then NRG and Unleash also currently reside within that circle. And then actually locked in, you mentioned them earlier, Rambo Squad. They're going to be in a big position to potentially pick up a lot of KP, could be the gatekeepers, but you mentioned it as well. With Ash being so prevalent, 100% pick rate, there's going to be carnage. It's going to be portals left, right, and center. It's not going to be as simple as holding teams out. You're going to need to have your head on a swivel to try and catch KP here.
One team who's a long way away from the zone at the moment is going to be Shopify Rebellion. I think it's only right that we mention them, as we also rightly should mention NRG. Now, Rene was talking about Timmy and Guild and the history that they have, of course, on the Moist roster, but that was with MT as the IGL. Now they've got Yanya, who kind of co-IGL'd Team Liquid quite some time ago now, but Timmy is the man who's going to be taking the majority of those decisions. He is the IGL for this team. He's obviously expressed that he really wants to be that guy for his squad, so it's going to be a real test of his abilities. And I think NRG, when you look, again, on paper at this team, you kind of pick ingredients off the shelf for success. They've got everything you would want.
All of the pieces to the puzzle, but can they actually put it together? Is interesting to, by the way, look at the legend selection. There are only 5 legends being used in this first lobby from the Americas. You compare that to EMEA, where there was 9 different legends, right? There was far more decision-making to be made by a lot of the EMEA squads of how do we approach this? How do we try and avoid all playing the same thing? Whereas the Americas teams just all seem to be in agreement of what is the best composition and maybe are happy to go along that route of, well, this character gets banned and then we move to the next best composition. Then this character gets banned and then we move to the next composition. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see exactly the same thing that we saw in scrims, where we see Ash banned, then Catalyst, then Newcastle, then Alter. We'll just come back to that later, but that's my prediction.
Yeah, and of course Nox joining FURIA as well in the off-season, replacing Vaxilon. Envy, another team where you look at the players on the team and you feel like there's a lot of ingredients for success. Dropped, who's always one of the IGLs who, when it comes to LAN, a lot of the time will put his team in great positions, and now he's got Zap and Sykes alongside him, 2 great controller fraggers who have had success themselves. So Envy, another team who could have a real say, although they have struggled a little bit in the build up to this in scrims, but how much of that is limit testing? How much of that is their limits maybe being a bit shorter than they would want?
I wonder if this takes a little bit of pressure off of Zap as well. I'm excited to see how he does on this MV roster, actually. I think there's so many teams and so many players that have potential to make a mark on this season. Like Rebs had said, we're going to see some players really stand out from the rest when it comes to playing in this kind of meta with legend bans being so prevalent. as Envy just about squeeze through and just about survive, albeit by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, we're just going to take a second here, gentlemen, to pop some batteries and some meds to make sure that our next Trident trip can be completed. Elsewhere, by the way, just want to talk about how a lot of teams banked on it being a Ceto zone early on. There are a lot of teams in Ceto at the moment. They will be safe, of course, for the next zone, but when it pulls away, boy, there is going to be one of those situations where 20 or 19, I should say, goes down to about 8 or 9 very, very quickly. Back over to checkpoint, though. Board, who have moved their way from the northern side of North Pad towards where Falcons find themselves at checkpoint. They've got to be careful here that they don't get their wings clipped.
Just scouting at the moment. They definitely are aware of Board's position, but I don't think it's worth them pushing for it. Instead, they're hoping that they can hold Board out, but again, Board can kind of go down below them. They can portal out. It's going to be difficult. We have yet to see many teams really take engagements because everyone's been able to escape, aside from Flat, who, of course, got sandwiched early on. And, well, that zone is taking us all over the place. Back and forth, and instead, we're going to be heading to B. Now, remember, I touched upon CTE moved very early to get to that building, and they are going to be in prime position here.
Oh, look at Falcons. Falcons are taking the Ashport right past Oblivion at the moment. That is Oblivion probably thinking we could hold them out here. We have the building, and then the Ashport just takes Falcons straight into zone, and now Oblivion are the ones being held out. So the Spider Cave is a little bit awkward to hold, especially when you have Unleash and 100 Thieves looking at you. NRG also within the vicinity. So Falcons, they've used the Ashport to get to where they find themselves, and they will be safe. But how long can they hold for? As we jump on board with another team who's got a little bit of a different journey. I mentioned how Shopify Rebellion have a long, long way to go towards this zone. Well, having 2 purples, a red and a Kraber might make it a little bit more comfortable for them.
They're going to be taking a similar rotation that VDR did a lot earlier in the game, this southern route around the bean. But sadly, they're going to come across Envy very shortly. If they're not careful, just need to make sure they keep their eyes peeled here, and I think they have just seen Envy, so they're not going to be caught off guard, and they can take a fair fight. But it might be unfair for Envy, actually, because there is a couple of teams that are just north of Envy, and Shopify Rebellion might be able to take advantage of this.
Yeah, Sykes is down for Envy as well, and now they are being pinched. You saw some grenades going in. The tether just missed. I think it was zap and dropped. If that would have managed to grab one of those players, then that Kraven shot becomes a lot more easy to navigate. SR are going to use this opportunity while the Carnage is going down in front of them to hit the evac and overtake this traffic. It's a very smart snap decision here, but where do they land? Because there isn't many places to play, and they don't have that Newcastle in this composition to bunker down in one of those corners and use that castle wall.
Yeah, it is worth noting the lack of Newcastle and also the fact they are running the Crypto and the Fuse. They're banking on keeping Crypto and Fuse throughout the majority of these first 3 games because they're unlikely to be banned. They have been able to find somewhere to call home, though, and they have just about survived here.
Back to Falcons in the Spider Cave. Back to them trying to hold out Oblivion. The catwall is going down. Waltzy's going to respond. Envy eliminated second in this lobby in the meantime. It did look very awkward every time we were on board with them. Couple of tethers going down through those catwalls. This is such an ugly looking fight on both sides. 3 grenades, frag grenades. Falcons in a bit of trouble, and Zero says, nope, I'm out of there. I'm hitting the port.
Yeah, it is a blind portal, but they may have gotten away with it. It looks like they've been able to escape that kerfuffle, but I think VDR are going to be above them here, looking down, so they need to be careful. And now here comes the nades, here comes the tether, and Falcons are getting absolutely tasered right now.
But they're still alive. This is the important thing. They're still alive. They are playing the Newcastle. They are able to get that wall down. And even though 1 HP is 1 HP, they're surviving long enough. But how long is that castle wall going to last? Another portal goes down, but one has fallen. I think that was Hal who was on his back.
And now they get even closer to VDR as well on this map, and VDR should be able to finish up the pieces. Locked in, looking to try and lock in a couple of kills on the edge, and they are able to get another one. Locked in have been so good during scrims. They finished second last time, and they wiped No Name.
No Name down. They have lost Panic in the meantime, but they'll get that banner back. EMP not going to be quite ready yet. Still a little bit of charge needed on that. So it's Rambo and Hambino are going to have to play this one out as a duo in the kill feed in the meantime. Team Liquid Alienware. Well, they just picked up one themselves, but Rambo's going to have to be picked up himself.
Do they have the time to reset here, or are they going to get pushed? You can see there's another... yeah, I think this is going to be the end for Locked In. This is going to be so difficult. They've not had the chance to reset.
Nice shots coming in here from Recon. will get the finish. Hambino down, locked in, will be eliminated. So Bear Gotas will pick up their first KP. But they're getting third pie. But a third pie is only a pie if you can celebrate. And at the moment, it's looking like it's getting a bit awkward on both sides here. Right, you're trying to stick this res with the Newcastle. Does manage to get Not Panic back up, paint up to his feet. As 100 Thieves move through the spider caves, as Falcons will finally be eliminated as well.
Oblivion did get taken down and also bored with the other team taking that fight, and they will win the engagement as well. So on that eastern side, they will have the victory and they maybe can walk their way in. Empire go down in 13th position. You can see Yanya in the kill feed taking down Deeds with the Motherload as well, as 100 Thieves are trying to walk up this hill.
Verhol's going to try and get a castle wall down here, but they've got some damage, and I like this play, but Phony's gone down. Phony has been picked off here. And even though there's damage going in, even though there's knocks on the other side, can they get the rest? Yes, they can indeed. 100 Thieves back up to a full complement. Jen has to try and get the cavalry down to survive. Maybe overextended a little bit there for that kill on Digivives, who is still alive. Can Phony finish off before this battery gets popped? Yes, he can. 100 Thieves will be able to get the reset, but now they've got to hold off a push.
Verhol's very quick to get Jen back on his feet yet again. Duplex trying to close that gap. The nade does so much damage, and now HUSS surely clean up this fight comfortably. 100 Thieves will get eliminated. NRG have just fallen as well. And HUSS now leading the lobby. 11 points for them as 8 gang also go down.
8 gang down, and it's the return of Skill Cakes and Dupe to the ALGS, teaming together once again with Jen joining this lineup. They will control the northern side for now. Board still have 1 player alive on that northern side, but when you're talking about zone, when you're talking about teams, and we're talking about the ones who had to make the longest trek, Shopify Rebellion now in one of the best spots in the entirety of this zone.
I mean, I used to say it when he was playing, and I will say it again. I still think Skittlecakes is one of the best aimers that we have in the ALGS, and not a player you want to be going up against. Now, CTE, they moved to this building so early, but sadly, the building no longer in the circle. You mentioned it, Shopify Rebellion arguably in the best spot right now, but that doesn't mean it's an easy win, because there are so many teams still alive going into this Zone 6. You've got Team Liquid Alienware, VDR on the western side.
Just got the res VDR.
And by the way, we're going to see Deeds getting back onto the map.
Not for long, though, I don't think. Vaxxon is down, Reps is down as well. CTE take that opportunity. They recognize it was a duo only available for them to try and take this space away from. It's easy KP for them. I'm not sure if they've actually managed to take Deeds out. No, Deeds is still alive, although you get the feeling that we might not be saying that in about 3, 2, 1. He's gone as well. VDR eliminated as CTE pick up some KP.
Can Liquid Alienware take advantage of this, though? Because CTE have taken damage, and yes, here comes Liquid Alienware to swoop in. But now HUSS, they're going to go for the 4th party here. Maybe they can pick up the pieces, but all the meanwhile, Shopify Rebellion are watching all of this.
This is going to be the freest win that Shopify Rebellion could ever ask for. They've just got to be aware of some random ports behind them if they are available. Skill Cakes is left on his own. He'll be swung on here by Zainu. Behind the knockdown shields, who are taking a little bit of a battering, but when Koi and Zainu are looking at you, even Skill Cakes won't be able to survive. HUSS are down, and now we find ourselves with a 2v3 as Jaguares and Neazul stand for Liquid Alienware.
They were able to reposition, though, and the Dark Veil goes down. This isn't over yet, but Shopify Rebellion, with the player advantage, should win this one.
Yeah, EMP goes down as well. There is that knock. Koi picks up his 1,000,000th kill of the ALGS, and Neazul stands still, accepts his fate as Shopify Rebellion will win your game number 1.
Shopify Rebellion continue their dominance from scrims right into a competitive environment. They won it just a few days ago when these groups went up against each other, and they proved that scrims can be very important for your progress into the ALGS. Now, the real question is, how many points can they continue to put on the board here? Because things changed going into game 2. 100% of teams chose Ashe, but Ashe is now banned.
Done. Absolutely done. We will not see any more Ashe today, which is disappointing sometimes for some people with how fun she is to play, but it also means that we have maybe a little bit introduction of Wraith, which is what we saw in the EMEAs a bit earlier on. This is the match 1 results, though. 8 kills, 12 placement points means 20 points on the board already after game 1 for Shopify Rebellion, who had to make that very, very long rotation, remember, and I think the key moment for them, Dan, was that evac tower. The timing of that, seeing the opportunity to hit that evac into that spot they played for the long game. Very, very smart call from NT.
And it is kind of worrying for other teams that Shopify Rebellion are one of these teams that are currently playing the Crypto and the Fuse, which are not going to be banned. So they can continue with that composition probably for games 1, 2, and 3. And they had that much success without the Newcastle. The other squads should be maybe looking at this approach and saying, okay, well, they can keep a consistent composition throughout these games now. They're going to be one of the squads that we will be chasing because they're going to be putting up points like that. It is terrifying.
Well, Shopify Rebellion looking terrifying in game number 1. Big KP, big placement points, a first place finish for them. Game 2 coming up just after this break.
Who be casting next?
Me and Rain, I think, isn't it? Maybe? Or is it me and you? I don't know.
They find a way to get the job done. This is, I don't know. For some people, I feel like they're a little bit of villains, you know? I mean, Koiful and Zainu dropping Phony, you could kind of take either side. They've made it so that you had to kind of take a side, but MT clearly has worked. That's what's been awesome about seeing Guild, seeing Shopify. That swap wasn't really about who was right or who was wrong. It's more like, man, both teams are playing just as well. Now we get to see Phony on 100 Thieves, obviously missing out there, but just the fact that Shopify get it done, you can tell this is going to be a team we're going to be talking about a lot, not just in the Americas, but overall in year 5.
For sure, and I think as we take a look at this final circle, Shopify Rebellion, you know, there's always talk about Falcons, talk about 100 Thieves. Everyone's like, I'm sure Shopify Rebellion is sat there like, wait a minute, like, we're still a team who's going to come in and dominate here. We might not be as brand new and flashy as these teams. However, we're still here, and we're still here to take over. Maybe Champs wasn't the performance they would have wanted, but they've shown in game number 1 here that all the pieces seem to be working. And I think the value of a good IGL is really being shown here in year 5 as well. It's almost as if you find a good IGL and you're looking, even if you're one of the best fraggers in the world, you need that leadership, and MT quite simply brings that. That evac tower that they hit, the timing of that, the call to make that decision, that's the split second decision making that makes the best IGLs in the world separate themselves from the rest of the pack.
You know, I'm kind of curious now that we shift towards game 2 and we look at Ashe, 100% pick rate, which means if you're just joining us, that means she's banned. So you cannot play Ashe now for the rest of the series. I keep mentioning this caveat because at the end of the day, if you do go 12 games and you've banned every skirmisher or every assault legend, you're going to have them come back into play. So Ashe being the first ban would be the first of that ban in that class if all of them were banned to come back in. But now we've kind of shifted towards, what do you think, Mark? Alter, Wraith, kind of being the second predominant choices heading into it. We saw Privacy's tier list earlier on in EMEA. He has Alter up at S tier. Do you believe that there's a significant difference between what Alter is bringing to the table right now once Ashe is gone versus Wraith? Or do you think we're just going to start seeing more of a split to your own play style for these teams? Because now, obviously, kind of the go-to best mobility fragger is no longer available.
Yeah, I think you look at Wraith, I mentioned this in EMEA, you know, very similar properties to Ashe. You know, you've got the ability to get into a fight, and as a skirmisher as well, if you get that knock as well and you get that finish, then your Q's going to come back as well. So if you're Wraith, you can you can queue in, you can queue out. It's as simple as that. And you really do have that value as well. Plus you have the portal, which may be, you know, very similar to the portal of Ashe. You're going to get from point A to point B without taking damage. But there's actually something really interesting that Dan just raised in our Discord chat here. He was saying, during scrims, when Ashe got banned, half the lobby then took Wraith, but Shopify actually decided to go with Bangalore instead, maybe thinking they'll get a couple of games of Bangalore instead of Wraith being played by the majority of the lobby, and then having to change for match number 3 as well. So I'm kind of liking this kind of, you know, this little mind game that's going on with teams at the moment. It's, do we try and play what we believe is, oh, it's Catalyst. He's going to, oh no, sorry, we haven't had match 2 yet. I was going to say, it's this mind game of like, do we want to try and play with the composition for more time, or do we want to try and play the legends that we feel have the biggest impact in that particular game? It's a fascinating thing to watch develop, and I wonder if more teams are going to look to that as the weeks go by here.
And as we head into this game, and we head into the Open, which of course is coming, you got to get there at some point to even get to Pro League. The Challenger Circuit is where you start. So check that out. It's beginning in just a little bit, if you want to be involved and maybe play Apex at the highest of high levels. And speaking of high, coming down from the sky on Crypto is MT. And I don't want to pass over what you just said, Mark. I think it's like fascinating beyond something we've had a chance to experience in terms of the freshness of Apex. I think we're going to have to get to the Open and talk to these pros, talk to these players, and see what they're thinking about it. Because you're right, there is a version of, you know, 2 games on Bang where we don't have to trade legends and we can just be consistent. To us feels like much more of a value. And there's the other person, I'm sure, that's going to say at the end of the day, how are you not playing Wraith? Wraith is better than Bang. You play the most optimal character you can at all times. So it's kind of going to be interesting which pros land on what side of that, and also their decision making in terms of why. It's just a fascinating kind of thing that we get to now dive into again. If we needed more stuff to focus on in Apex, you know, now we have it.
Yeah, it's the wonderful thing about these changes, right? And these adaptations, this evolution of Apex Legends, it gives us so many more talking points. You know, the game feels completely fresh this year. It feels like a real opportunity for teams. And if I'm not mistaken, that looks like a very similar zone to what we saw in match number 1. Very, very similar. Is that the exact same zone? It looks like the exact same zone in game number 2.
We got replay on or what?
This is all Dan's fault, by the way, because he said something along the lines of, you know, we're not seeing similar. Yeah. Classic Dan.
Somebody scrubbing that VOD and trying to go back in time saying, is this playing again? Unlike Virtus Pro, who were able to not do that. But of course, at the end of the day, we do see a lot of these similar zones happen. It's part of why these map picks, the way we've jumped into Apex, has been so impactful. Getting these zones that might be a little bit more consistent. Well, you hope to find them, but these good POIs here, like Mill with Unleash, sitting there, NRG on down B's, able to make a small rotate as well. And, you know, it's really going to be an interesting thing to see. And the question when you have a zone like this again is, do we do what we did last time if we were successful? Or do we try to, you know, find some different way to do it? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And so a lot of times, you know, you do have a similar zone, but you have to play with, now you don't have Ashe. Was Ashe the reason you could play that zone, right? You know,
can you play it the same way? Yeah, can you play it the same way? Because now you don't have the abilities that Ashe has. Now, we see Wraith being a very popular pick as almost a replacement for Ashe for a lot of our teams in this game number 2, but it does play different. It does feel different. It does not offer the exact same A to B almost instantaneously. You have to put that portal down, and it's a little bit of a different feel. So that's the great thing, right? Previously, before POI draft and legend bans, we would see this same zone and we'd be like, okay, this is a great zone for X. They just won this game. They're going to know their rotate. They know who they have to go through, or our team's going to try and adapt. But now, even though the zone is the same, the game is very, very different because we have the different legend picks.
Ape Gang trying to find a little bit of space here, just establishing with a triple take out the window, and Buck's gonna take a little bit of damage from Bursty, and these two teams content to stay inside. As of now, we transition over to Falcons, really the star of the Americas for so long in many different ways, a team that in equal parts has fans and people who say, you know, Do we want to really see you succeed? This is the super team. Do we love it? They're making that rotation. We got to cut back, though, to CTE before we finish that topic because they're in the middle of it. Goes straight into the Wraith queue, can come out now whenever they want, and that's huge for Mav, as his adjustments allows him to get that first kill and go right back in with the knock because of that new skirmisher change.
Yeah, I was about to say that skirmisher perk keeps him alive in that situation. He gets the knock and then gets the Q back. So all of a sudden, double Q. All of a sudden, he's alive. He's a problem. He's staying in with his team, and it's a pretty clean looking fight for them. So that is why the skirmisher is such a strong pool to pick from in this particular iteration of Apex Legends and season we find ourselves in. Falcons had a little bit of a disappointing game number one. They're trying to make this a little bit better as they're going to look for the ring console here, and we'll probably get the information that we already know that it's going to be almost exactly the same zone, but they have chosen to put Zero onto Wraith, and they're going to go with Wraith as a replacement for the Ash that we saw in game number one. So some consistency again across picks here from the teams who picked that Ash in game one.
Imperial Hal, maybe the most known name in all of Apex, maybe BR Esports at this point. Obviously trying to get it done here. A fresh year for them. A team that had so many expectations. Trying to live up to them has almost been impossible. Winning everything was really the only thing that would allow everyone to say you've done what we think you should do based on your roster with paper. But, you know, at this moment, I think it's great that they have this new start just to kind of feel fresh. And also with the Newcastle catalyst, how feeling good on Newcastle as well. I mean, these guys, you know, while championships wasn't their win, you know, third place, not bad at all. A lot of money earned already in year 5. We'll see if they can keep things up as we transition to Alberelli, an old teammate of Hal's, on Stallions rotating with Crook and Enemy.
Yeah, it's interesting, the Falcon story, isn't it? You know, everyone, it's like if they don't win, it's failure essentially, because they still picked up some pretty damn good placements on LAN when it came to it. There was that one, of course, blip that happened in Mannheim. Everybody knows about that, but they bounced back pretty strongly. 100 Thieves, yet to see the best of them in game number one. Maybe game number two is going to be a little bit different for them as they make a very similar rotation as we would expect, with the zone being very similar. Stallions going to be in front of them. Board have actually changed their rotate towards down beast this time instead of trying to go through this choke at checkpoint. So they've decided to try and adapt a little bit, knowing some of the powerhouse teams that might be trying to wrap in behind them.
You know, Phony too with this squad, you know, just his story over these last few years has been remarkable to see. I remember calling My Little Phony My Little Pony back in the day when he was winning and clutching up 1v1s to take a game, and now, you know, look at him on 100 Thieves. My only question with this squad, Mark, and I don't know if you have the same sentiments, is that they're kind of quieter people. You know, Jin, Verholst, Phony, they're on the quieter side, you know, of I think just personalities. And so how does that mesh? Does that really work well? Do they all allow each other the space to thrive? Do you need someone to step up in that? Is it Jen? Or is it Big E who kind of steps up in that? We know Phony is going to IGL them, but it's just so interesting to see how these three personalities are going to mesh heading into obviously a new team, a new Oregon, a new year. Yeah,
it's interesting. I think Phony's certainly able to put his foot down when it comes to making those calls. And I think that, you know, his two teammates are smart enough and experienced enough to listen to them. It might not be the fireworks that we've seen from previous IGLs from the teams they've been on before, but he's certainly a very forceful IGL Phony when he needs to be. And I think both players are going to bring the required energy. I'm not too worried about the comms and how they're going to affect the game. I think it's more just finding a comfort level and dealing with the expectation that's going to be big for the first few weeks for 100T. But that, again, that zone maybe pulling ever so slightly away from where we saw, slightly to the western side of Storm Point here. I'm clutching at straws, but it still looks very similar, I have to say.
Phony up on height here and just gatekeeping this team at the edge of zone. Gonna Ash Portal away and deal with the enemy that you know, right? The zone, it's gonna give you consistent damage. Phony, you never know. That headshot with a triple take, that could change your whole game too. So they're going to back off and not risk it here as Phony pops a Phoenix skin. It's going to grab a little bit of this Evo Harvester. No more red shields as well. Something I feel like we just haven't talked much about, but the fact is, you know, things are just faster. You do not have usually, you know, that level of being able to adjust in the same way. So maybe not as risky in terms of some of the choices that you're going to make, knowing you cannot recover from it anymore, as Liquid Alienware, with still 19 squads left, make their way past Barometer.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get those red shields now, you got to get that red helmet, right? And it means extending for a care package. It means waiting for a mythic bin. All of these things that you've got to kind of play into. So I think the majority of times it's a rarity rather than a must-have if you're approaching late on zone and you're playing that edge style due to the fact that you've got to rotate. And as we see, Stallions make their rotate with the Wraith Portal. A little bit of a scan of the sky here from Albrelli onto a care package that's coming down, which is not only going to grant them Evo, it's going to give them information that there is a Kraber on its way down. The only problem for them is almost 300 meters away, so very unlikely they're going to be able to go and grab that one. Even the new Wraith Port's not going to go that far.
Yeah. No Ash either, you know, you get to level 3, you get that ult there, ult back. Possibility, not anymore. Stallions having to work with what they've got in front of them on blue shields here. And Enemy, one of our youngest pros, one of the most successful young pros in the history. You've seen him across our esport, many different teams. Now finding a home with Stallions. See if they can get it done with Crook. Catalyst is the most bit character here, which is why you saw that ban earlier on. So she's going to continue to be, you know, not played, but here.
EMP in the trees! Oh, Envy, you nasty, nasty lot. That is an EMP hidden in the trees. The drone is good enough, and Oblivion obliterated. You feel for the boys. Envy didn't have a good game one, and they're taking it out onto Oblivion.
They found Oblivion right there, and 100 Thieves coming back to give Envy a little bit of a taste of their own medicine. Sykes feels the true damage of the P2020. Huge pickup there from Phony. Can he continue to go off? He's got Verholz pushing in ahead. Jim Burton drops. It's just dropped, and Envy will go down right after they find the kill of their own. 100 Thieves, the ultimate winner of that battle.
Yeah, they are going to be the ultimate winner. There's no one else close to third party. You can see that the port is going to go out from Phony just in case to get them away. But Envy, you feel like maybe that was a bit of karma. We are seeing a slightly different zone. It's slightly moving away from Bean. We're going out towards the southern side of Mill. So a slightly different zone here. Furia and a very, very good spot on the bridge for this one.
VDR on the south side as well. I like this rotate for them. Obviously, potentially running into Ape Gang and CTE, who have stayed in that building, feeling very, very confident, but they have at least a zone to play around it. MPIRE, Shopify Rebellion, 100 Thieves, and of course, Stallions, who we've kind of been keeping track of, all destined to kind of come into the same area here, especially with Falcons being aware that there's a lot of teams behind them who would love to kind of claim that northern side of where this zone is going to be and inch their way in as the team without anybody on their backs. A long way from that for Falcons and all of those squads. Action about to heat up here in game 2.
This is a really, really important play from Team Liquid Alienware. This is a little bit of an all or nothing play. They're trying to take the bottom floor here. Nizzle might be able to get this kill. Zone is going to be a problem. Has to jump into the void to stay alive. And now at 1 HP, you get the feeling that Team Liquid Alienware might not be longed for this. Begos will hold. And I mentioned how it's an all or nothing play. If they don't win that fight, essentially they're out of the lobby. They're trying to take away one of the god spots here. And it's a great hold from the team on your screen.
Huge here from all of these squads trying to fight for just a moment, and Noct finds one onto Not Pain. Driv goes down to the ring. Ryu trying to get the Newcastle res. He's gonna get it, but will they stay alive after that? That's the question.
I mean, I was worried that zone was gonna be a problem, but it's Madness who threads the needle this time from distance. This time with a 30-30. He was knocked from Fury the first time around with the Scout who got that knocked. And Bet got us now just really struggling. Somehow Team Liquid Alienware are up to 2. While all this is going down, I think Team Liquid Alienware are going to send a pay packet towards Furia and say thank you very much for the help.
And Furia's not going to push that, though. We're kind of still in a standstill. 100 Thieves about to get EMP'd, and they do. Verholst almost goes down immediately. That's Zainu from up top, taking down Big E. And now Zainu raining fire with the upgraded G7. And he's got the gold version as well with a PK. You don't want to stay away from him. You don't want to get close. There's really no problem. Zainu has allowed you to solve here. Shopify Rebellion, after a game 1 win, look to add to some pain.
Very similar looking game for Shopify Rebellion. Very similar looking game for Falcons, who are eliminated in 17th in this game number 2. It's a red armor and 2 purples, exactly the same position that we saw them in the previous game where they took home that win. 100 Thieves were able to just about escape and portal out, but you wonder how long they are going to survive here in this game because there's only one of them left. And with the way that Shopify Rebellion are playing at the moment, this is looking like a scary squad as Empire will also fall in the lobby.
You talk about Shopify Rebellion, obviously SSG prior, but looking at Zainu's history, hoisting that trophy twice, you know, not a lot of people can say that they did that. I mean, we're really talking about someone who has put themselves in, you know, a category of elite play here in Apex, and you cannot ever discount the fact that, you know, somebody of that caliber is now getting more and more experience. And we speak about Enemy being young, Zainu as well, such a bright career ahead of him, already done so much. And we'll see if this can continue. The 30-30, however, from Skittlecakes, he wants to find that slot here, just gonna hide behind the Newcastle wall. And you can see above Karev and Liquid Alienware getting him back in the game as we have round 4 about to close. Still 15 squads left.
Yeah, this is a really, really big portal here from Skittlecakes on the Wraith. He has to find a playable spot for his team. He has to survive and get them in. Gonna hit the queue as well to survive a little bit longer. Zainu's in the feed again, this time with the Peacekeeper. Oh, the boy is chunking. Oh, the boy is hungry by the looks of things. It's gonna be 2 dead here for VDR. Koifel's gonna slide in alongside MT. Should be able to finish this one off. VDR feel the pain of Shopify Rebellion, but it did come at a cost as Zainu will be down.
Sometimes you have to give, you know, a little bit to get some, and luckily in terms of that situation they make it out alive. Unluckily though, they have to now respawn Zainu. Shouldn't be impossible, but it definitely adds a little bit of difficulty to what would have been a pretty strong game in game 2 to see if they can go back to back there. Gilderson's off the headshot, dealing with a little bit of a EMP himself, but those arc stars are going crazy. My goodness, almost dead here. Alberlelli and them have found a little bit of life, but it's going to be taken away just like that.
I mean, that is Guild at his best, right? Just damage, damage, damage. However, unfortunately, you can see that Timmy's gone down on the rotate. His teammate's gone down on the rotate as well, and everybody is getting cut down on this north side right now. So many teams are stacked up. There's only CTE. They're inside of where this zone is going to be finishing, and they are right next to Fury. They're actually fighting right now for what could be one of the priority positions. Liquid Alienware up on the Godrock trying to hold out all of these teams, still fighting their way in from the northern side. NRG are finally down. The final player will be Guild, who falls.
Niesel up on top, trying to stay here and just apply pressure when needed. The car in the 30-30 for Jaguares. And Skittlecakes, oh, is he going to make a little bit of a play here?
100 Thieves has somehow got back up to 3. Phony has pulled off an absolute blinder here. Oh, and as I say that, he goes down.
Well, you know, Phony obviously knows how to get out of tricky situations, so don't count him out just yet. He will be finished, however, from Nano. And that will leave 100 Thieves back to 2. Sometimes being the IGL and also being the person who has to go out in front and try to scout. It's a difficult thing to do. So now Jin Burton and Verholz trying to get him back, and they will, Mark. They're going to get him back.
They're going to get the res. By the way, shout out for Jen. He doesn't need the dual P2020s. He's just rocking the 1 at the moment. He's playing the game on extreme mode. Flat eliminated in the meantime. 8 squads now remain. Liquid Alienware going to have to move soon, though, but they control so much of this height. And if they can force the team off in front of them, then they can carve a path towards this zone.
100 Thieves back up as a 3. Phony back with purples, got his weapons and everything, and now HUSS trying to rotate into them. What will be the answer? Goes immediately into the queue. Buys himself a little bit of time, slides out, going for the portal. Skittlecakes again, right behind the Newcastle wall. It's enough to survive, but Team Liquid Alienware up on top, gonna run into 100 Thieves too. So many teams just going at it right now as the zone pulls in. 6 squads left, and he's just trying to get through that Newcastle shield. It's not gonna happen though, as Liquid Alienware, though Jaguares is still alive, lose Niesel.
Oh, the Newcastle wall is good enough. 100 Thieves still alive at the moment. Somehow Verholz is left. Jaguar is 1 HP. What the heck did you just do? That is insane. From Jaguares, they fall out in 4th position. Liquid Alienware will fall. 100 Thieves go down as well as Unleash sat on the high ground here with a Kraber in the hands of DigiVibes.
What a moment here from Jaguares. He finds that next level, Super Saiyan, whatever you call it. and just gets the job done. It's not going to be the win, but it is going to be a highlight that we will remember for a long time. Unleashed now have a chance to close out game 2. 3 shields. They got a red on Newcastle. Florzy dropping down with the P20s, trying to find the last one. It's Madness. He's been causing chaos with that 30-30. He's going to go down, and Unleash will find the kill and find the victory in game number 2.
The Kunai gets the job done. There's no better way to reintroduce Wraith to the ALGS than getting the final kill with the heirloom. It's a beautiful thing to see. Unleash the winners of game number 2. And again, it's one of the teams that we weren't talking about coming into the day who perform when it matters. But I mean, that was a crazy game. That play, the Jaguars.
Ooh.
Beautiful.
What can you say? What can you say at that point? He got the job done. Sometimes as a pro, you know, you don't win your game, but you have moments that say today was special. I think Jaguars just had a moment that felt special for us on broadcast. And so whether they get the W or not, they're coming away with 10 points and a lot of confidence that they can 1v2, 1v3 if need be. Unleash take the win overall, 20 points there. HUSS right behind them. FURIA also, Madness, we didn't watch any of their play. We saw them through the kill feed, but obviously a really solid game for them. Puts them up into 7th place, and HUSS leading the lobby yet again, Mark. It's very similar to what we saw in EMEA. Some teams that, weren't leading the conversation heading into it. Now 2 out of our top 5.
Yeah, I mean, the team with one of the most chantable names and players when it comes to the live event. You know, I'm expecting a lot of dupes. Seeing him back on the stage, I'm expecting a lot of HUSS, HUSS, HUSS when they come out on top as well, because 30 points on the board after 2 games is a very, very good looking score to have on board. Liquid Alienware just behind them as well, but I mean, Shopify Rebellion was a good KP in that game, weren't able to convert on those KP, a very, very north heavy side it felt like that time as everyone tried to rotate in comparison to a lot of teams trying to wrap from the south in the previous game.
All I have to say is with the 20 teams that we see here, imagine 160 in the open, and the names that we're going to be talking about, the unknowns, the unexpected moments, all that coming up. And also game 3 right after this break.
I am the protector of the weak, defender of the just, and lifter of damn heavy swords. Whew.
Just you and me now.
Oh!
Here I go. Yay, I am still alive. Go me.
I didn't get my sword from a stone, but I'm still worthy.
Taking damage.
I'm a hometown hero. I'm Newcastle.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Two games done. Dan Gaskin's back, everybody. That's good news for me and for Rainday because he gets a break as well. 2 games done, Dan. One with a powerhouse team coming out on top in that game number 1 is Shopify Rebellion. But once again, a team who's gone under the radar a little bit win game number 2. What did you make of that?
I thought that it was an interesting one, considering we had the changes, like, same circle. I mean, I hate to say that I was the curse. I did say that it could happen, but different game because we saw Ash's banned, and instead we got the Wraith approach and a couple of other things. And I think that meant that teams weren't easily as able to surpass another squad on their rotation, so we saw a few more fights in the chokes, and instead teams had to really work for their positions rather than just being able to portal up to them, for example. So it was a very different game than game one, but it's new names. It's names that weren't necessarily talked about at the start of the show that are showing up here, and I think that's what we expect this season. We've said a couple of times, like, we're going into the unknown a little bit. We've got the open where we're gonna have 100+ teams that are going to be there, and we need to start thinking about some of these new names getting the chance to be in the spotlight.
We also hopefully get to see the POV of the kunai finishing things off, which is the best way to finish any game of Apex. There it is indeed. There's nothing better, Dan. Honestly, like, all very cool heirlooms. Everyone has their own place. There's something special from someone who's been playing since the first season to see the kunai back in action. It's just carving away at people for that final kill. Maybe it's just like that sick part of me, but, you know, I think it's cool.
Carving
you don't know
away.
where to go with that. Yeah.
That's quite sadistic of you if I they just slapped them with a knife, but I guess if you did get... Anyway, yeah, it was certainly an interesting game 2. Now going into game 3, we're of course going to have Catalyst banned. In scrims, we started to see more Newcastle. A couple of Wraiths popped up. It was actually a 50-50 split. Well, not 50-50. It was the same amount of Newcastles and Wraiths in scrims. So then it comes down to which legend has been picked more overall, which in scrims was Newcastle. So we'll have to see whether that ban comes out again. But then we started to see more cryptos coming into the equation. Rampart started to be played as well in game 3 of Stormpoint. So this, I think, is going to see the most diverse selection of legends going into this third map.
And a little bit of a worrying start here for Falcons as well. 17th and 18th, I think, respectively, if I'm not mistaken, from those first 2 games. Might be slightly off on those, but either way, certainly not in the top 10. So they've got some questions to answer here. Some tough zones, of course, for them to try and access. But the crazy thing about it is we're talking about legend bans. We've got one more game on Stormpoint before then we have another change. We change maps. We then move over to E-District and a completely different feel to the lobby once again.
Yeah, very different. I think that we're going to also see the changes throughout this season when, you know, E-District is first, for example. I think we will see Alter used and banned a lot earlier, whereas we've only seen a little sprinkle of Alter so far, and then we're going to see a lot of her when E-District comes in for game 4. But these are the series results, and HUSS, you said, the chance of HUSS.
HUSS.
I mean, I'm all for it. I'll be in the stands.
You on board?
Chatting with them, I think. Maybe we can lead the chats. They're number 1 at the moment, and for good reason. I think this is a really good squad that they've been able to put together, and a very exciting one indeed. Liquid Alienware take up second place. Shopify Rebellion, they don't manage to find as many points in game 2 as they did in game 1, but they are still up there in the discussion. And then Unleash come out of nowhere to put themselves into the top 4.
Now, I don't want to claim all of HUSS's success as my own, Dan, but let me tell you a story.
Please do.
Duke was having about 6-7 months ago, I think it was. Duke was struggling a little bit with his audio setup. It was cutting out when he was trying to make calls as an IGL. I sent him a DM. I was like, brother, I've set up so many Go XLRs for people like you and everyone else throughout the years. I've got you. Got it sorted for him. He's been on the rise ever since.
So you don't want to say it,
coincidence?
But it sounds like you're suggesting...
Not. Could be a coincidence. I don't know. Let's take a look at the map schedule, though. Let's see what we've got coming up. I think, I'm sure that the chat will agree with me.
Can you fix mine?
There's no other factor.
will it improve my... Well, if I break it and you fix it, will I get better at Apex?
Yeah. Match number 3 coming up. Stormpoint. Catalyst has been banned. Ash already banned after game number 1. And as you can see now, this is the final time that we'll be on Stormpoint before we head over to E-District for 3 games, where we've got a little inkling that we're going to see quite a lot of Alter come into play. Now, who do you think is going to be jumping into the compositions, Dan, now that we see Catalyst removed from the legend pool?
Little sprinkle of Caustic, couple of Watsons coming into it. Bang, Alter, Crypto, Rampart, Fuse. They're going to be the ones that are going to be injected into compositions now, just to try and make up for the lack of ring console information that was available previously from the Catalyst. The real question for me is who gets banned here, Newcastle or Wraith? Because we've seen a lot of it already, and that is going to really change game 4, because if Wraith gets banned, then we'll of course see a hell of a lot of Newcastle and Alter going into game 4. But if Newcastle does get banned, that makes E-District very interesting, because cast your mind back to EMEA, Newcastle was still alive until game... He didn't die. He just got banned. He was still there until game 5, right? But then it changed game 6 when he was then banned. I think the E-District is going to be very different if we lose Newcastle here in map 3.
I wonder if we're going to see any Pathfinders today. We saw a little bit of it in EMEA as well.
Yeah, we saw one or two, didn't we?
Yeah, we also saw a fantastic example of one of the skirmisher changes for this season as well, with the fight that we saw take place in Bean very early on, with Wraith getting that knock, getting the Fin, and then getting the Q back immediately after queuing into that fight. So that shows it's a really good kind of illustration to the strength that a skirmisher can have in your composition if you do choose to go down that route. But speaking of taking a route, it's going to be straight down to start this game off. Match number 3 is live. It's the last time that we're going to be here on Storm Point.
And this should be another exciting one, because now we have no catalyst. Everyone has to come up with a little bit more of a creative way to try and get out of some of those dodgy moments. So you've got no Ash Portal to escape. You've got no Dark Veil to escape. So instead, is it going to be a Bang Smoke, for example? Are we going to see people try and retreat to that? You can see the Rampart is here and available. You've still got Wraith available as well for those portals. So can Unleash put that second game and turn it into a third one to try and get towards the top of the leaderboard?
By the way, the game attack Vlorzy, I feel like he's trying to get as many letters at the end of the alphabet into one game attack as possible. You feel that's fair?
I think that's possible, yeah. I think that's, like, he's just decided he could do as much as he could.
Yeah. Anyway, let's look inside. Let's look in. Yeah. Wait. I love that I can just say anything. You're like, yeah. Actually, that's not true. A lot of the time you'll be like, what? Anyway, let's take a look at the zone. We're going to the hillside by the looks of things.
Hillside is where we are heading, and in terms of legend selection, it is going to be Wraith who takes the majority, 14 picks over the 13 of Newcastle. So we will see Newcastle for game 4. So that means, again, we might see Newcastle up until game 5, because Alter is more likely to be banned in game 4, you would imagine. But anyway, yeah, lots of Wraith here today. We're also seeing, as expected, a couple of Watsons and Caustic being thrown into there, and then 6 Ramparts and 8 Cryptos. So we'll have to see how those recon characters and the recon perk might help out from the side of Alter as well.
Very interesting that when we head to E-District, we're going to have a real kind of cut down on strong rotational characters, right? You've lost Ash, you've lost Wraith, we've lost Catalyst. Yeah, they're some of the strongest. Maybe Bangalore's going to pop her head up and say it's my time to shine with those smokes. But as you can see from the map overhead here, Oblivion in a very good spot early on. Gothgirl, who had a really good spot actually for quite a long time and managed to get into that top 3, maybe in the top 2 if I wasn't mistaken from that previous game. Ape Gang also very, very close. But just looking at the northern side of the map, look at what Falcons are up to. They're heading from Trident, understandably. They need a game here, I have to say. I feel like they need a game, because it's not just been a case of no KP. It's been no placement either.
Yeah, I think that's the worry, is when you get to this point, when you get to the halfway point, is when you really need to make a decision of, you know, are we playing the correct way? Are we good enough? What can we do differently going into these next few games? You don't want to leave it until game 6 to then suddenly be like, all right, now we're going to be aggressive. Now we're going to push for points. Now we're going to change our comp up. Try and do it a little bit earlier. See if you can find that rhythm for success here in game 3, moving into the next one, because you can consider this a halfway point, and this is your last attempt at getting points on Storm Point.
Well, FURIA have had a very good game number 2. They had a really good spot in game number 1 as well. And at the top of Barrow, we've got Team Liquid Alienware underneath them for now. So they're going to have good angles onto them. I'm sure that Liquid Alienware are more than aware of their position. But this is the hillside that we're talking about, where this endgame is going to be taking place. And Unleashed, the winners of our game number 2, are under a little bit of duress early on here, trying to set up a little bit of cover. They do have Rampart and Newcastle, so playing behind this tree might actually be an option for them, as everyone else tries to fight for those buildings.
Trying to work out what BR they're playing with Rampart and Newcastle. They're going to be building a base before you know it. Sky Tower starts to come through. They've got all of the opportunity to build up some fake cover here. But will that hurt them in other aspects of the game? Of course. Now, Falcons will have a little look towards it, and they will get at least one knock onto Yanya. But by the way, a lot of teams have been able to get into this zone. A lot.
Onto Yanya?
Onto Yanya?
You went very Ron Burgundy. You just whipped a question mark on the end of your statement. Oh, shout out everyone who's old enough to remember Anchorman 1. Well, it's a little bit of a confidence boost, I think, here for Falcons, just getting that KP on the board. Even if it's just the 1 point, it's one which is better than none. A bit of loot for them to pick up as well. A bit of loot for them to pick up as well.
It's a pure Family Guy moment, isn't it? 1 is better than 0. There's a Michael Owen comment for you today, so that's we're all tied.
We're 1-1 on tier 1 analysis.
So Falcons, now with the position they currently hold, you'd think that they will have a chance to pick up some KP from teams arriving from the north, but no one's really going to be coming that way, to be honest. Everyone else has been able to find safe passage elsewhere through the map to find somewhere else to call home. So Falcons are actually going to be looking inward at teams that have been able to get ahead of them depending on where this zone currently pulls. As for Team Liquid Alienware, sure, they've got height right now, but they need to move eventually. Don't think they have zone, so that's going to be the reason why they haven't really been able to work out where to move yet. So they're just holding on to their tippy top of the tower.
Just a note as well that NRG did manage to get Yanya back up. We did see them as a full 3 momentarily, so not going to cost them. As far as player count for the team is concerned, it's more about the spot that they would have had and now how they're going to have to fight in a little bit later. Liquid are more than happy, by the way, to be here at Barometer. Maybe they're just like reminiscing about the simpler times. You know, POI draft, when that came in, it meant that they weren't guaranteed Barometer. Just staying up here and thinking about the good times.
Just reminiscing.
Yeah, probably not.
Reminiscing about Barometer. Barometer, as it was once called.
Oh, who knows who called it that, hey?
Not me. Digivibes down. But probably back up? No, not going to be back up. All right, so there's been a couple of like ones eliminated, a couple of people just getting caught out on their rotate, just being picked off, but still being able to escape. As I say that, I thought they'd been able to escape, but Unleash will be fully killed. So from winning the previous to now getting eliminated first, the age-old curse of Apex Legends.
Let's go this way.
Which Flat, who did lose QZ, and they're going to try and port for his banner by the looks of things. 19 squads. First team was eliminated. This is going to be a very tough recovery, though. Ape Gang are very close, but maybe they're not quite paying attention enough to that death box. Indeed, they're going to be able to get that banner and get away by the looks of things. They're a bit late. They're like, what's going on here? Oh.
Also, completely opposite to EMEA is the POI draft that came through from the Americas as Flat get eliminated. Everyone prioritized E-District from what I'm seeing. If the numbers are correct, which I'm always going to assume they are, we saw priority on E-District for all the teams, not on Stormpoint, which, as I said, is polar opposite to EMEA, which again just shows region by region we are seeing something completely different, which makes an open even more exciting.
It certainly does indeed. This is a look at your map overhead. That zone has gone right to the center of the second zone. So third zone, if you were reading off of second zone, you're going to be pretty happy, pretty predictable. FURIA in a really good spot as well, just holding down the outside of Jurassic. A lot of, again, traffic on the north side of this zone. And you can understand why as well, because of the fact that you have that natural height to try and work your way down from. The problem is with so many teams stacked up inside and so many teams trying to make essentially the same play, it's going to be very, very tough to actually rotate in unless you clear that entire north side. And when you've got, you've got HUSS who are top of the leaderboards right now, trying to hold out Shopify Rebellion, Board and Falcons trying to move that way as well. Damage and moving off of that and crossing the open ground without the ash and having to take that extra few seconds with maybe a portal or using the smokes. It's going to be tough to do. It's going to be Coiful this time on the Bangalore. Here for Shopify Rebellion. Yeah,
the good news for Shopify is they're playing the same comp as they played in the previous game. So the struggles they would have faced in game 2, they're going to be facing the same ones here. Now, 100 Thieves, 5th place at the moment, and they've got to move in from the southeast. Let's jump into a listening and see what 100 Thieves have to say.
Can you cut on? Where is he? Nading it. I killed it. I'm feeling it. Take it. Take the Evo. I got it. Yes. Where you want to go?
My side.
They're getting EMP'd.
Are they getting forced? Are they getting forced though?
No, they got fuse ulted, I think.
You can scout Pylon, I'll watch the portal. I'll watch the portal.
Crypto is watching me.
Let me know if they fight.
Yeah, I'm watching the portal for now. I'm waiting for Jen to cross.
I'm coming.
Like 2 teams on my side.
Come on, see it funny.
Good play here for now. I try not show presence as much. You on me?
Yep.
Is it close?
Bucket. Yes.
Where are they?
Shots back.
One guy's on height, one guy's on height.
Yeah, one guy's height.
Yep, 40 on height.
Crack them. The one purple, blues.
Alright. Let's wait for zone full, okay? And I'll probably portal us then. I'm gonna have to jump off height.
I killed him.
I'm on height.
Let's go.
Heading. Tagging him up there.
One guy right side pillar here. Purple on her. Going.
94 off. Back on height.
I killed him, yeah, I killed him. Good Q. Flash.
Hitting drugs.
Hit UAV.
Let's go over there.
The 103 is trying to creep their way in towards zone. You heard in the comms, they're just going to wait for zone to close, and then Phony maybe going to look for a port to get them a little bit deeper into zone. Looking at the kill feed though, NRG back for some revenge by the looks of things onto Falcons. HUSS eliminated as well, and that's all happening on the north side of this zone at the moment where we had those teams stacked up previously.
Yeah, Shopify Rebellion getting the final kill onto Dupe and taking them down. 16 squads now remain, and there is a couple of big fights happening, it would seem, around the map. This is one of them. And actually, Shopify Rebellion are going to be watching over this. You can see Falcons right at the bottom, but there's also a team stuck in between them. One goes down, and the Motherload too. Shopify Rebellion hoping for some KP here.
Oof, good shots from Koi. Surprise, surprise. It's weirder when he misses at this point in this young man's career. Oh, look at those shots as well. Just switching targets, hitting everything at the moment. Zainu finally finishes it off, and board might not be long for this game.
Yeah, they're just praying to any god that will take them at the moment, hoping that someone can. No, not gonna happen. They look to the heavens, but sadly, all they see is Koiful with the G7 scout.
Board eliminated. Wasn't really any way they were going to get out of that situation. And now Shopify Rebellion probably looking to see if they can do a little bit more damage to Falcons, who were close to them on that northern side. Falcons as a duo, if I'm not mistaken. Walty was taken down a little bit earlier by a member of NRG, who are still so close to them. Liquid Alienware, though, trying to get involved in this area too. Shopify Rebellion now going to wrap back towards the northern side of where this zone is going to be pulling. And I think Falcons 0, alongside his two teammates, I was going to say, maybe doing a little bit of recon work, but they've got Wolsey back.
They're going to actually shadow and follow Shopify, but the zone is going to close and start to play a factor in this. Envy also approaching a team here. It's going to be 100 Thieves. They're so weak, and sadly, Verholst, there was not enough rock to cover his rocks.
Zap sweeps in as well. There's only going to be one remaining member. Envy are doing so much damage at the moment. 100 Thieves are eliminating it. Zap and Sykes, the two fraggers sent in by the boss to do the work, and they do exactly that. Just about manages to get that bat off, but now they have to rotate, and they've got quite a way to go here. They've been held out by Empire.
Yeah, Empire, who were the only team within zone, but it's only two of Empire holding them out, may I add. One of them is kind of watching the northern side, so there is still an opportunity for Envy, but it's just such a tough one, because you don't even know you're going up against two. It's going to be a 2v2 in this scenario, so there is still an opportunity here.
Got to hit every single bullet, though. Ronnie's going to hit his. Sykes, unfortunately, is a little bit warmer than he wants to be. Going to be able to queue past it, though. It's a 1v1 at the moment. And he's going to get a little bit of info here on where that final player is. Good spray coming in from him, trying to play around the knockdown. Not going to be able to clutch up, though. Envy will be eliminated. Liquid Alienware, let's jump on board with them now. Neazor and Jaguar is left on their own.
Such a good hold from Empire elsewhere, but now Liquid Alienware is just going to be the chance. But now will you see the only caustic in the lobby becoming a real threat to Liquid Alienware's chances of surviving.
We're going to try and res this one. Ape Gang have been eliminated in the meantime. You just saw Rambo pop up there and go, hey, catch this for me. Will you just hold on to this one? It did enough damage to get the knock, but not enough damage to finish them off for now, as Furia try and hold off VDR. Good shots coming in from Knock, but Keon is down.
Keon down. Gonna get a chance to be picked back up, though. And will be back on his feet, but are they going to be able to survive this? No is the answer. VDR come in hot. And Liquid Alienware also finally go down. So just 8 teams left. That was an insane amount of teams that just fell. Mainly because there was not really any room to play. Everyone was trying to force their way through. And again, without any sort of Ash to take you through, any sort of Dark Veil to give you that cover, you're going to have to take those fights.
Oh, Vaxlon might have jumped into his drone at just the right time here, because Locked In may be looking to wrap where VDR's position is. NRG looking for their second reset of this game as well. And Timmy is going to say, welcome back to Yanya as least. Did he have both of the banners? We'll have to find out. Didn't need both because Guild is back. He's alive and kicking. And he's trying to throw some frag grenades down to finish off this team who's just in that little crevice between the rocks.
Looks like it's going to be a safe arrival back onto the map. A chance to get into a loot box as well, so you can be at least somewhat equipped for the fight, but the zone about to close. And there has to be a decision made now. Which way do you go here? Sadly, I think that decision might be made for them because of the shots that are coming from the other side.
Well, there's 8 squads remaining, so there is a little bit of space here. It's not going to be a heavy traffic zone for them to try and force their way into, so they might be able to thread the needle a little bit here. The only problem for them is those rotational characters that have been taken out by the legend bands. They don't have a Wraith, they do not have an Ash either, so it's going to have to be brute force, and there's no one better than Guild if you're looking for brute force.
Yeah, brute force with the P2020s, but they all go down the lower route here just to take a little bit of cover. We'll use the Bangalore smoke as well to move to the next rock, but sadly, nades, EMPs, bullets all flying in NRG. Their demise is arriving, and Guild will be the last one to fall.
NRG will fall. 6 squads remaining as Bear Goats go down as well. No, the fight's still taking care of itself here as locked in. And Rambo on the prowler. What year is it? No name will be eliminated. Oh, in the back! Here comes VDR!
VDR push on in and locked in down to just 1. And VDR are doing so well to command the space at the moment. That's what year it was. I mean, Caustic and a Prowler and Rambo. It feels like 2023, 2022 to me.
I'm a lot younger now. I've just taken years off of myself. It's great. The pandemic cost me 2 years, and now I'm bringing them back. Oblivion, 2 red armors and a Kraber. 3 bullets left here for Blinkster. Oh, and line them up! That's going to be Hal who learns the hard way that there's a Kraber in front of him.
Line them up, but can you knock them down? They know exactly where Falcons are, and they can surround them. They have the advantage thanks to these red armors. You can see Falcons have been able to just hold off. They had the ability just to create a couple of barricades to separate themselves. But they both have to move. Zone's going to close in 10 seconds.
Blinks is looking for another angle here. He wants to... Oh, it's a collat! It's a collat! One of them is a headshot! Blinkser! My goodness, Falcons just got eviscerated.
Falcons were just waiting to be taken down, really. They were in such a small space. They were so vulnerable. And they were probably just hoping that the Kraber missed. Sadly, it did not. It, in fact, did more than just hit. It hit twice. And now the Falcons go down. 4 teams left. So VDR are going to be on this western side. Empire still alive on the southeast. And you've got Oblivion and 1 member of Locked In on the north.
1 bullet. 2 dead Falcons. Incredible shot. One of the best Kraber shots we've seen in the ALGS. It all lined up for him. It was about pulling the trigger at the right time. And now they build that base. Castle wall down. Rampart walls down as well. It's Oblivion who have performed so well in scrims, who are looking to continue that form into week 1 of the Pro League here in game number 3. Empire eliminated. They're into the top 3, and they are looking so good. Not only did they have the Kraber, Fun's got himself a BK as well.
Yeah, this is really Oblivion versus VDR, and then the small inclusion of Locked In, the 1 remaining player who is going to be alive and just hoping. Panic still there behind the rock.
As a solo, by the way, the name Panic Apex could not be more poetic.
Oh, he's just been pinged as well. Oblivion know that he's there. Is he on the Wraith, though?
Could well be. We'll check in a few moments' time.
It's on the Wraith. That could play a big part in this, because you can go into the Void. You can maybe encourage the other teams to fight.
Try and kidnap someone just to be funny. All options, depending on if you're playing for comedic presence or to get as many points on the board as you can. By the way, Reps, 1.8k in this game. Massive amount of output of damage from him.
Well, Reps did say it's a chance for players to shine in this environment, and maybe he's going to be the one shining in this game. Can VDR convert this into a win to get some much-needed points to send themselves up these leaderboards, though? Oblivion do have the altar available, and of course have the Rampart and Sheila, which could play a big part into this, and of course the red armors we've already mentioned. A severe advantage when it comes to armors here.
VR. I hope you're ready for this jelly. Panic Apex. A problem. It's Reps who's down, and surely that just opens the door. You have to remember where that solo is. It's going to be fun. Off the back of the damage against the KP, Jelly moves in. Vaxilon tries to scarper away, but surely this is just about closing out. Oblivion will close out and prove that they are here to play in this week of the Pro League.
Rats are a problem, and they really can affect the end game, especially when they go unnoticed. They ruin the chances of VDR taking anything there, but they just open everything for Oblivion. And I think maybe it was inevitable anyway. Oblivion just had such a big advantage with those red armors and with some of the ultimates available, especially Sheila being there for them too. But maybe they earned that position based off the previous fights they had.
Yeah, really, really impressive from them. And I think coming into this week, they were one of the dark horse teams that we talked about, been performing extremely well in scrims. Well, it's carried over into the Pro League, and that is so important to do, especially in the early weeks. You don't want to be known as a scrim warrior team. You want to be known as a team who is going to turn up and perform against the best in the world. 14 KP alongside the 12 for coming first. 26 points for Oblivion.
That is a lovely, jubbly set of points. They will really be up there in the discussion for top 5. Yeah, all the way up into 4th place. They've done very little before match 3, but that's what I was saying. Consider this a halfway point. This is your last chance on Storm Point to pick up some points, and they have certainly done just that. Shopify Rebellion will be number 1, 32. Liquid Alienware, 31. HUSS on 30. Oblivion and Unleashed, 27-23. Rain Day. What a game it was. Again, just proving how different games can be once we have a couple of new legends added to that pool.
Yeah, and I feel like we're hitting it a little earlier than we hit in EMEA, where it felt like that 5th, 6th game really started to change the trends. But now we see, obviously, that happening here just after 3. And so what does the next 3 in store as we head into E-District? That's going to be very exciting, guys. Also, a huge shout out to Shopify Rebellion's ability to maintain first place after really, 2 solid games, but really that one game being kind of the deciding factor. If you can get a win in these Pro League splits, we know how impactful that can be. It usually means you're in a top 5 situation. If you can get 2, you're probably in a top 3 or winning the day. So at this point, Shopify very, very close to maintaining and pushing past that lead. But hey, a lot of names, HUSS coming in as well, Mark. I mean, this is not an underdog story, but definitely a dark horse that we're getting to witness here right in front of our eyes.
I can't not say it every time that now I read it or you say it. I'm like, HUSS. You know what I mean? I really want New Orleans to be screaming that, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, there's a few teams who have performed in scrims who are performing here in Pro League. And, there's a lot of experience on these teams. These aren't teams that are just like unknown players. These are players that have either picked up young talent, or they're players who are coming back to team together again after a little bit of time apart, and everyone knows how to perform. And I think it's fascinating, how every game is so different now, because you look at that and you're like, why did that game end the way it was? Why was there so much space again in that end game? And you look at zone this time. Zone is the difference there. There is no playable zone areas for people. People are looking at maybe not playing in Newcastle early on. It's all of these things that start to evolve, and every game, I keep saying it, but I'm going to keep saying it, it feels different. And I think that's fascinating to watch.
It's because when you really think about what a pick is doing, and we have a fun segment to jump into in just a second, but when you really think about what a pick is doing, it's eliminating RNG. It's eliminating the randomness in a game that is inherently random. So having a Shield, having Gibraltar, having Newcastle gives you the sense that you know what you're going to be able to do, even if you take a fight. But now that those characters one and done for half the time, and it's not those specific characters, but the fact that you're playing around catalyst walls, you're playing around Ash mobility, knowing if you get a tight spot you have mobility. Now you maybe don't, or you don't in the same way. Obviously it's going to throw it's a learning experience, not just for us watching and casting, but for these players as well, which is so exciting. But alas, while we can talk about this all day long, it is time for us to talk about something even more important, which is our hot takes. It's halftime, and that means it's hot take time. And that means, Mark, I'm going to have you sit this one out. It's going to be me versus Gaskin. The real hot take here, guys, I'm not sure this is hot. I mean, maybe the movement is hot. I don't know. You guys like this? A little merengue, a little salsa. It's pro players and their worst habits. One of my least favorite aspects of our pros is the fact that whenever a change happens, they always tweet about it negatively. I mean, at the end of the day, POI draft, legend bands, a new map coming into Pro League. How can you be so aware that someone is sneaking up behind you in zone, but so unaware that these changes usually work out and are good to watch and for the esport? Can we stop hating on stuff all the time? I mean, just hating for the sake of hating. It feels like you got a PhD, a player hater degree. Pro, step it up, give it a little bit of love, please, because at the end of the day, you know that we are doing what we need to do best. I'm just sick of it. Have a little bit of good faith. Damn, I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, pro players, bad habits. There's far too many of them. Pro players need to remember they are on camera too. I had to watch Sykes readjust after a game. Please have a think about who's watching at home. There are children watching Sykes. And then Pierre, you might just be a coach, but your dirty, stinky socks should not be on camera. If you're gonna take your shoes off, at least get some freshies. I know you want to be comfortable. I know you want to put some feet up, but it doesn't cost much to go to Primark or any other store that is available and get some fresh white socks so that we can at least look at something that's clean. You guys, you pick your nose, you scratch your private parts. I don't care. Remember, you're on camera. I don't pick my nose when I'm on camera, so you don't have to either. Thank you for coming to my Dan Talk.
And that's real because
so glad I stayed out of that one. I'm so glad I stayed out of that one.
You know, I think to be honest, I feel like Dan just really had a lot to let go in that segment. Like, to me, yeah, a lot of pent up anger.
I kind of enjoy those parts. No lie. Disagree.
Fun, honestly, it's like a release. It's like, this is therapy. This is great.
Yeah, we're being therapeutic. Obviously, we know this segment was Dan's idea, by the way. He's the one who put this in. So all jokes aside, chat, let us know if you enjoyed that and you're enjoying our hot takes. We're having a lot of fun in the middle of the broadcast. Usually we brought on a guest, but we're changing things up in year 5, like we have said around all of Apex Legends. So if you think somebody won, if you like to take, we encourage you to get involved in the conversation, whether it's on Twitch, on YouTube, or on X, wherever you end up watching. Guys, I think at the end of the day too, it's time to hear what chat thinks. I gotta know at this point. Let's go ahead and feature some chats here. Mark, I'm gonna let you read this one because you know what, you stayed out of that.
Okay, I'll do some responsible work.
Do some responsibility.
Alternative -bad -655. Just make sure I got the right amount of 5s. This is such a disgustingly stacked lobby. SR Falcons, 100 Thieves, FURIA, Stallions, VDR. You get the idea. All in one lobby with a ton of unknown quantity demons in there, in the back. You should read this. MPIRE, NRG,
I'm regretting my decision.
There's genuinely 10 teams in this lobby who could win. In my opinion, there's nothing to speculate on off this lobby. Lol. It's just too damn hard. Alternative bad 6555. Welcome to year 5 of the Apex Legends Global Series. I think everyone feels like that at the moment.
We all do. And at the end of the day, this is one of those comments that really rings true for us watching. We don't really know what's happening. Everyone does feel like they have a chance to win. And it's not just the legend bands, it's just the quality and the experience now as we head into the 5th year of, people know how to play this game. Fenris, ass gear. Interesting. Not sure if I said that right, but thank you for commenting. If HUSS keeps up performances like this, they'll be signed in no time. Dan, obviously a good sign for them. A team certainly on the rise, and orgs need to be paying attention right now.
I did see a little teaser trailer from TSM Apex saying they're looking and they're maybe picking up someone. So I don't know. Performances like this, maybe HUSS could be next. Maybe they could be.
Play that trailer backwards, by the way, at double speed. It actually goes HUSS, HUSS, HUSS. So maybe.
What is that, Led Zeppelin? What is that, Pink Floyd? What's the one that you play backwards? Or I don't know. We're not gonna jump into that. You guys know what I'm talking about here. DTKSE for our final What Does Chat Think? Says Dupe and Skittles cooking in comp again. My heart is full. Well, it has been a little bit since we've heard that Dupe chant in an arena. Hopefully we get a chance to see it here if they keep playing well. That puts us in a prime position, especially at the Open, to get some Dupe love back again. So that's it. Thank you so much for engaging in the chat, whether it's on Reddit, on Twitch, wherever you are. We're super excited about it. Mark, I know you're about to take a break. We had a great cast. It's time for Dan and I to get going. However, for this little portion. So we'll say goodbye to you, and we'll kick off game number 4. Dan, man, this is our little special, our second time of the day to be able to do this. What's kind of the takeaway for I think the lobby's dynamic? I know that we've talked a lot about legend bans. We've talked a lot about, someone said there's 10 teams could win. They're so good. Do you feel that it is something around the teams that we're witnessing? Do you feel that people are still adjusting to these legend bans? If you have a takeaway over the final 3 as we head into our next 3, what's kind of the observation that you've had?
I think when you get this many good teams in a lobby that all know how to read the game of Apex Legends, you get an agreement from everyone of what is the best legend composition and how is the best way to play. I think this is a very kind of stylistic approach to Apex Legends that we're seeing from a lot of players. They all agree on where are the best places to rotate, which is the best legend to do so. But what amazes me is you've got some teams that recognize that pattern and say, actually, how do we go against this meta and try and beat this rather than being a sheep? And Shopify Rebellion would be the one that stands out for me. They are not necessarily playing the meta comp. They are trying to find different legends so that they can, be a little bit against the grain, but also have the ability to stay on certain characters for longer and not necessarily have to change time after time again. And that creates a lot of excitement as well, because we get a little bit of a difference when it comes to these legend selections. I know that game 1, we only had 5 different legends, but now that went up to 9 in the last game, if not more. And now we're going to start to see Alter come back into the equation, because it all starts again when you go onto E-District. Yes, we still have the bans that stand forth, but when we always change map, you're always going to have one legend who is better than the other.
Well, let's take a look back at some of the incredible action that we've witnessed as the players get ready for this next game. That Kraber shot from Blinkster Oblivion. Jelly, fun FPS. That moment right there, 210, 168, and then a 128. Dan, it just doesn't really get better than that. That is the perfect version of a Kraber approach, and it was amazing to see Blinkster do that. Mark asked a very big question: are they able to stand this Jelly? Can they handle it? And I think at the end of the day, the answer was no.
Yes, sadly not. And then we saw the end game come through here and how that was affected by the one solo rat that was still alive. And you've always got to keep tabs of the rat, and Oblivion did have eyes on him, and I think that really helped them in the end, because they were aware, they forced him over towards VDR, and then sadly that one kill that Panic was able to get, that one knock, really affected this end game. And I do think Oblivion probably had the better position, they had the better style, because they had the red armors as well, so they were likely to win. But of course, it was made easier by that last remaining Wraith. However, we will not be seeing another Wraith, because Wraith has been banned. But that does mean going into E-District, both Alter and Newcastle are going to be available here. They are 2 of the most popular picks that we have, so I'm expecting Alter to get banned in game 4 and then Newcastle banned in game 5.
Interestingly enough, had you have kind of looked at Apex a few months ago, you would think the supports would be the ones being banned mostly. You would think those would be the ones used up. Those would be the ones that would immediately go out. We'd be dealing with, Gibraltar gone, with Newcastle gone, and then obviously you'd start to work back from there. But obviously, it's just been an interesting kind of showcase of the aggressive characters being the ones that flex, and it makes so much sense, because why are you going to, again, try to eliminate some of the consistency that you have with how you play the game? But it also means that some teams who are out in front, are deciding, hey, we're not going to, like you said with Shopify, really play into the meta where we're always getting banned each and every game. If we can have 2 games in a row a ban, then 2 games in a row and a ban, that does make us a much more consistent team across the path. And so there's going to create a lot more lineups that I think are possible here, Dan, and it's just exciting to see. As E-District also provides the entertainment for Alter, for Newcastle. We'll see which character is the most picked and which gets banned as we do a top-down overview, jumping into game 4 with our winners Oblivion and Jelly near Shipyard Arcade.
So in scrims, it was a little bit different, because in scrims, it was Newcastle who got banned in game 3. So we saw, you know, plenty of other legends coming into the fray here. We saw Fuse being included. We saw lots of Rampart, Watson starting to come in as well. But it's going to be different in this game because Newcastle was not banned. I'm expecting a lot of alter. I think we had 16 alters during scrims. It wouldn't surprise me if we are up at a similar amount for this one. And yeah, we have 15 alters, 11 cryptos, and 10 Newcastles. But we're starting to see Rampart, Fuse. We've got 4 ballistics in the lobby, 3 caustics, 2 Watsons, and a single Bangalore. So a little bit more of a difference when it comes to the legends that have been selected here in this game. And I can't wait. I love E-District. I will say it every single time I see it on my screen, and how differently it can play depending on what legends you have available to you.
Southern Zone here in Shipyard as well, as we just talked about. Ape Gang at the top of it, and Oblivion are winners of game 3 at the very bottom that we just saw. As we take a look out at the map, Dan, what's the story here? Shopify Rebellion in a good spot as well to add to their tally.
Yeah, they are indeed. I mean, this one's pulling a little bit further south. It's going to be draft point is where we're going. And I think the interesting thing is Energy Bank, the rotation through. There's a few teams that maybe could pick up some kills if they kind of hover on the south side of Energy Bank up towards the northern side of draft point. Maybe you can pick up some of those teams that are going to be moving through the middle. But there's big points up for grabs for some of these squads that have been able to move fast as well, and some that need them. I mean, Ape Gang, for example, they've been able to move pretty fast, and they'll hold this southern side. Oblivion, who we saw just get the victory, they're going to be right on that southern tip. A difficult spot to hold sometimes. You have to go across that bridge if you do want to get into the fray, if it pulls into the middle. But some squads are certainly getting into these early positions good.
You know, one of the interesting things, just as we hold on for a second, number 4 Oblivion, they're playing a ballistic. Our 5th place team playing a Watson and a Bangalore. Our 1st place team playing a Fuse. I mean, there is something to this because these are not the most picked characters at all. And so they're going to have the success already to play from, and then they're going to keep being able to have these lineups for the most part. Maybe Crypto next game might be close to a ban, but this bodes well for teams as they are now trying to keep up the consistency that they've already displayed instead of going for the most picked character. Envy here holding this building with Sykes on the altar and just trying to poke away. Wi-Fi and Kuzme realize there's an issue in Digivibes. I had the conversation in Twitch coming up. Should he just change his name to Digivibes? Because at this point, everyone thinks that is what it looks like. Yeah, maybe at this point. I don't know. But obviously, rotations of plenty. 2 buildings being held. And continuing on with 100 Thieves as they're trying to find their spot down south too.
Maybe when the Digi got removed, he just removed Nine from his name. And he was like, well, if they're not going to be in the game, then I can't be Digivibes anymore instead of just Dig Vibes. But the vibes shall be dug, some might say. Now, 100 Thieves, 20 points at the moment, 8th position. A chance to try and surge up the leaderboards here, and I like this comp. I mean, we only see the 3 caustics in the lobby right now, and we already saw earlier on E-District in EMEA that caustic can be very tricky to deal with if the zone starts to pull some of these areas that are very building heavy, and of course E-District, a lot of buildings to work with. So I don't hate this comp from 100 Thieves.
Falcons also early on the rotation here, and you can see playing the Fuse, which is something we have seen on Shopify Rebellion as well. The mirror composition with 0 on the altar. A character, unlike Fuse and Crypto, who really didn't see any changes this last patch. Altar really the character that got probably the most love. And what this has meant is she's been even more of a threat than before. It's taken about a year to get to that place, but now she is certainly a threat across the board. Verholz finding Rambo on that kill. Is still 20 squads remaining, so not a full wipe there, and try to hunt down the other 2.
Jem Burton giving us a display of just how powerful Alter can be with some of the walls that you can actually get through, some of the ways you can manipulate the map to take advantage of those rotations. And it just means that you're not really safe. It was quite funny in EMEA. We saw teams just staying off of the floor when they were in a building, like the floor is lava, just so they didn't get abducted by alters trying to grab you through every little object that might be close to you. Well, that's certainly what you've got to keep in mind, but only for this game, because she is going to be banned going into game 5. But it's very refreshing, I think, to see a lot of Alter when she was first announced. We were excited for what she could do and how she could change things, and sadly never really entered the meta until now, and especially on E-District. She's going to be very prominent throughout this season.
Yeah, and even in pubs, if you're playing, you know, you're going to see a lot of her, whether it's just casual games, ranked games, whatever it is. Her power has been discovered, and that's kind of the thing with a character that needs a lot of learning, that it takes time for that learning to assimilate itself into the community at large. And once that becomes clear, where do you take these certain portals? How do you most easily navigate this choke, this zone? What are the little ways to guarantee most likely kidnaps on those bottom floors when you're dealing with the team above you? Those things now, when they are part of the community, well, you can now see the value that character brings a lot easier, and it just keeps on lending itself to more and more of them being available. But as you said, gonna be the last game. Enemy trying to make sure they can get this last bat off, get himself back alive. Albrelelli takes a portal and takes it right back. Doesn't like what he sees. Trying to get aggressive and got reminded that, you know, he should be careful where he puts his foot.
Yeah, it's been a slow and steady start for Stallions. Mid-table right now. Albrelelli, who has been touted as one of those who has a deep legend pool, can maybe be the difference maker. Well, his chance on Alter to demonstrate what he can do now is most teams have found their way towards draft point, but there are a few latecomers, Falcons being one of them, and maybe a Falcons Liquid fight up towards Energy Bank. They're kind of side by side, but they might just be like two ships in the night and pass here, and then VDR also in the vicinity. All three of those teams are going to be trying to make a similar rotation and might get held out by 100 Thieves on the northern side of draft point as well. And then the only other squads that are outside of that circle flat are going to be on the west side. You've also got Oblivion down south who still have to make that move. The one I was talking about earlier, that Shipyard Arcade's great, but then when you do have to move up towards draft point, it's sometimes difficult. You do get held out a little bit. So Oblivion will need a plan before they move.
You mentioned it at the beginning of this game, and I think it was a great point of how difficult it can sometimes be in E-District in terms of getting held out, zones, the pulls, the ability for you to be on a high ground in a building, and really only one choke in terms of getting past it. You look at kind of these little spots. If you need to move past towards that apex sign, there's really not too many ways to go. And so you are kind of forced into a lot of confrontations. It doesn't remind me of Kings Canyon in any sense other than that there were a lot of fights that happened very similarly in the same ways because there's only a few spots to go. E-District brings that modern flair, but you don't want to be on the wrong side of being held out as a crypto EMP. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that either. It goes off. Koiful trying to just survive here, trying to look for an altar portal, but MT and Zainu helping to relieve some of that pressure. Flat eliminated as MT picks up another kill.
And look at Shopify Rebellion, by the way, still playing their same core composition. You still have your Fuse, you still have your Crypto, but now Koiful gets to move over from Bangalore to Alter. And Koiful seems to be the one who dips between the kind of legends that are being banned or not banned, and you know, the assault characters that are available to you, but they have that core because they are opting to go for legends that have the lower pick rate. They might be off meta, they might not be seen as desirable, but they still do the job that Shopify Rebellions want to do. You still have the ability to get Ring Console through Fuse, and you still have the ability to get the survey beacons through the Crypto. So it's been working out for SR right now.
And it's the intention of these bans and what it's helped to create and cultivate in terms of Apex Legends esports. It's the fact that you do have to flex that roster possibilities within your own team, but also decide whether we want to kind of play for the moment. Do we want to play for long term and consistency? And I think that's what has obviously worked so far for Shopify Rebellion. Falcons also have the same lineup. We'll see if this stays. It's also an interesting idea that suddenly if something becomes meta, you're going to see that banned completely. And so can you ever have a meta? Do you have to just constantly be on your toes? Teams that, you know, obviously make it work with the altar, the fuse, and this and that because it's not getting banned. Well, if everyone starts to do that, Dan, then that's going to get banned, you know, next week. People are going to understand exactly what that looks like. And so that strategy will force you to then have something else up your sleeve as well. So we really are just rewarding really the ability to be nimble.
Of course, scrims will help with that. You'll get a general idea of how things are going to play out in the scrims that happen leading up to the games, but you can also use scrims as decoys if you want, and you can also try different things out. Might be a composition that you don't try when things come in. Anyway, yeah, this zone is going to be closing, and we're going to get a better idea of where we're going to be heading towards this end game. Oh, we're going to be pulling east. Great news for 100 Thieves and VDR. Bad news for those who are committing to the western side. There's a lot of buildings that actually have just been casted out of that circle as Team Liquid Alienware, we mentioned their rotation through earlier, and it's going to be Shopify Rebellion that they're going to come up against here. That is not the team you really want to be fighting right now.
Jaguarius goes down. We saw what he did by himself. A 1v3, essentially. One of the moments of the tournament so far today. But now Niazul trying to get a little bit of payback, and he does just that and a little more. Hides behind the bin and just lets Kurev step in. 166 damage is not enough. It's Niazul by himself. It's going to be a Liquid Alienware 1v3 needed to get the job done, and Niazul is there. Says Rainday, you need something? Well, I'm here for you. Right away, though, as he finishes it off, it's taken down just like that from VDR, excuse me, from Zainu, and that ends Liquid Alienware.
Was it worth it? That's always the question, is it? Was that fight worth it? That 3 KP just to then go down in the early stages. And I think both teams guilty of taking the engagement, maybe just saw it wrong. Maybe they didn't realize another team was in the area, but you always have to presume, always have to presume, bit gassy. You always have to presume a third team is going to be in the area, and VDR were just that. So Shopify Rebellion, our leaders go down, and that opens the door up for teams to start catching them with points here.
Game 4, obviously a new map. You don't want the tone to be set that now this back half of the tournament is not going your way. There's some optimism in a sport that has a halftime. Because you think no matter how bad you're losing, if you lost in the first half, well, that same thing could happen or more in the second half. So just seeing if they can get this back half right. Shopify will wait. MPIRE and Riley will use the portal to go upstairs, taking a little bit of an engagement here, an opportunity for reps to get this bet off and show what VDR are about. 8th place, trying to climb a little bit more, and certainly they will. Vaxlon entry frags, and it gets the job done as MPIRE is eliminated, and VDR climbs to 6th place with 23 points.
So a few teams now falling to the aggression of other squads that are just making sure they can push through and take advantage of the P2020 situation. Oblivion, they have been able to move slightly out of their position on the southern side, but they still have quite a ways to go here. They do have the altar for rotation, also have Newcastle available just to build some cover, and then the ballistic just to add the extra little bit of firepower. They are going to see NRG below them here, and NRG might get blown to smithereens here.
And Jelly, oh man, with that grenade, gets the job done. You can run, but you can't hide. As Jelly finds a couple, and Oblivion move into top 4.
Where do you go from here, though? That's the problem. Yanya actually makes it even harder for them as we move on over. See how the Stallions are doing. Portal up onto the top, and the push comes through. Stallions really want this one. It is engagement. They've done a lot of damage. Are they going to be able to clean up? The answer should be yes here.
Grabbing that KP and getting the finish as well. A little bit of style from Crook as enemy hits the medkit. And now Relelian squad having a continued impressive performance here in game number 4 as we've swapped to E-District. Jelly looked like he could have been by himself there. Did they lose a few in that engagement? We'll have to find out, as Stallions obviously on the hunt for blood. They can tell somebody is close by. Blink finds out Releli just like that, though. And it's an immediate response. EMP comes back, trying to force him out with the knuckle cluster. Albreleli getting revived, too. They've created so much space that they are going to have some time. But just on the other side, it's Jelly, it's Blink, it's Fun trying to do it. But look at this angle from enemy. No one sees him at all. If he got 2, that would be huge. But Fun should fall here. Albreleli with the R99, but does he have time as well? He goes for the portal down low. And I think he's just going to have to run this one out. Hopefully throw his ultimate, and that Void Nexus can bring his teammate before he gets downed.
Zone is still coming in though, and sadly, the Void was it a premature Void Nexus? Happens to 1 in 5 alters, and sadly, they are going to have to keep on moving, and I don't think they'll be able to get back up just yet. No Name down, Ape Gang also down, and VDR are just watching over on this one.
Love reps on the ballistic as well. You're right. It was just a day late and $1 short on that Void Nexus. Needed to go to the high ground so he could keep crawling. And there's just no way for him to get up there without any version of movement. Sometimes it be like that. It's normal. Happens to everybody. And of course, Unleash saying, well, we feel pretty confident about this. Something's not happening to everybody is the Watson pick. We're going to own that one right there. Dig vibes on the P20s. Finds a ton of damage here. And you can understand the confidence these guys are playing with how much damage they know they can deal and how fast this goes, Dan. I mean, usually you're not fighting with only 25, 30 health to your name, but with these P20s in hands, it feels like anybody's ready for a challenge.
Yeah, everyone seems to be up for a scrap in this game. Similarly to Game 6 in EMEA, everyone just brute forcing their way through at the moment. Unleash have lost 1, but might be able to get back up to a full 3. Decatron just trying to crawl up and maybe join the rest of the squad. And will be able to do so. But at the moment, I think the shield is actually more valuable than the player right now.
That's what's crazy. You think, well, you know, if we get you up, then we lose this shield, and this is a very hard spot to push.
Stay down, boy.
Yeah, stay down. At this point, P20 and pushing into that bathroom right there, there's no way that's going to be an easy thing. But getting that Watson up, obviously getting that utility is going to be important. They know they have to be on the move. Ligatron still alive. And Dig misses a few shots, but obviously focused on staying alive himself and falls there. It's just Florzy from Unleash, and that will be the end of them. 9 squads left remaining as Imperial Hal finds a couple of kills, and Hambino falls down with Rambo and Panic Apex right behind.
Honestly, Observers might be MVP right now, keeping up with this action, because it is absolute mayhem with all the teams that are taking fights. Board have just gone down. Falcons now starting to get involved with this fight. CTE will fall. Just 7 squads left, but there is still so much commotion because we are heading into the unknown. There's so much space that can't be taken by these teams. Locked in go down. 6 squads left here, Rain Day.
Pace-wise, Falcons seem like they have it. However, that doesn't mean anything. It's about getting the job done. Last alive, VDR. Former teammate Reps and Hal going to maybe be going at this one to claim supremacy, but this high ground is looking really good. The pressure of the knuckle cluster, this is what you want Fuse for. You don't need ordinances. You have the ability to just keep them in there, and Envy's going to take that as an opportunity. VDR knows that the more pressure we put there, that means Envy's going to push, knowing they can get some KP, and it makes our job even easier. This looks like it could certainly be a win for Reps and squad, but they've got to execute.
Yeah, VDR and Envy, both the teams that are commanding space. Envy just lost Zap. VDR just lost Reps, but looks like they both might get the exchange of reses as well. All the meanwhile, you've got a dogpile of 100 Thieves and FURIA happening on the northern side. I think 100 Thieves are trying to escape, and we'll just be able to move on the high ground. But VDR are absolutely griefing Envy at the moment, saying, actually, we're not going to give you as much freedom as you might have thought.
Reps, Verholst, and Hal, all on separate teams, having a chance here in this lobby. Falcons will be the ones who have fallen down, but Reps and Verholst, having just split, now have a chance to try to claim that that decision was the right one for each of them. Jim Burton with the push. Reps gonna fall to half health. Shield goes down. Deeds also finds the crack. Jim Burton smells blood in the water, and he knows this is the moment they've got to capitalize on. Still swinging. The swing will not end as VDR loses Thieves. They lose Vaxlon, and that's that. 100 Thieves now alive in the top 3 with Furia and Envy.
100 Thieves have just been able to force that engagement. They absolutely shove VDR into Envy, and now 100 Thieves commanding the most space and arguably have the best position in the game. Furia still down low, still being a nuisance, and still have the red armor on Madness here, so there is a chance they can still do something, but Envy and Furia might just be forced together with 100 Thieves to watch from above.
Verholst with the caustic as well, feeling very confident that no one's going to push. A little bit of an anti-alter there, because you might want to portal up, but you're not going to portal into a caustic gas canister and have success. So maybe a little bit of patience, maybe a little bit of understanding. See that portal right there? They're not going to want to take that. 100 Thieves takes Furia right away. And the caustic,
the push,
making it known. Verholst getting pushed though by Envy. This could be it. Jen Burton trying to do what he can do. It's just him and Sykes. It's a 1v1 to take it all. Has the altar portal come back and forth. Jen Burton's gonna slide, just trying to get through the shield, and he certainly will. Will Sykes somehow have a miracle? Oh, and he will.
Sykes pulls it out, gets the P2020s, and absolutely obliterates in the end. Both players just absolutely spamming the trigger, holding the trigger. It doesn't matter, but playing the shield successfully, Sykes pulls out the win for Envy. As much as I just criticized him in the hot take, he comes out and he shows us what he's made of in-game.
Huge moment there, and gotta feel good for Sykes. You know, being able to kind of talk about his journey and finding the right squad after, you know, being replaced and saying, you know, I understand at this point. I mean, it's a great player coming in to do my job. But when you look at now, what's the next step? I mean, this man is a LAN winner. He understands what needs to be done at the highest of high levels. It's nice to get a little bit of a moment like that, some validation, and get back at it as you start a new year. 23 overall points there, Dan. 100 Thieves right behind him. Loving that little caustic play. It's kind of interesting, going for a little counter to that altar pressure. It still didn't end up getting them win, but FURIA, VDR, and Falcons alongside Envy, all in a great spot there, dominating that final zone. Let's take a look at the series results here, Dan. After 4, Shopify Rebellion still in the lead.
Well, it's starting to look very interesting at the top, isn't it? 34, 34, 30. You can separate the top 8 just with 4 points. The top 9 with 5 points. There's no clear leader at the moment. Shopify might be first, but that could be whisked away from them at any moment. And when we do look at that endgame again, I think it was Dropped who pushed up and caught Verhulst off guard from the right, and that was massive. That may have even been the kind of winning play. Yes, the 1v1 is what we're going to talk about, and Sykes did destroy Jen Burton in that final moment, but we have to look at how they got there to that 1v1.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Verhulst really was kind of caught dead to rights in that push. When we were looking at the composition, I think that composition was almost designed to not be caught dead to rights in those moments like that. And you look at Verhulst also being such a clutch player. You have him in that final 1v1, not to say anything about Jen Burton, but you definitely know that you're winning that if you have both of them alive. So a lot to look at for 100 Thieves, a lot to be excited about for Envy and Sykes. As we head into game 5 and 6, I'm going to take a break. We'll get Mark back on here with you, Dan, and keep the action rolling.
Na'Vi. Where else to start than with our reigning ALGS champions? After winning the most prestigious trophy of Year 4 in Sapporo, Japan, Hiraka, Usako, and Zidane headed out on a search for a new place to call home. They had been picked up by EMEA powerhouse Na'Vi, a fitting org for the first ever ALGS LAN winners from their region. The first split of Pro League will be a brand new challenge for this roster. Their underdog win in Sapporo has firmly put them in the spotlight, and that comes with increased pressure and attention. The question will be how the Sapporo champions handle being center stage in EMEA, and if they can pick up where they left off considering their formidable performance at the last LAN. For Alliance, Year 4 featured several strong performances at major events. They finished 3rd in Mannheim, 2nd in EMEA BLGS, and also 2nd at the ALGS Championship in Sapporo. While none of these results were a win, they will still likely feel that they are the top dogs in EMEA heading into Year 5. Their mission will be simple: go out and prove it. Alliance are also the defending Pro League champions, having won Year 4 Split 2's competition in EMEA. Since adding Unlucky to their roster, they have gone from strength to strength. Alliance have always been one of the teams to think outside the box on legend picks, so the new legend ban system might work in their favor. FaZe are one of several teams that have had an off-season overhaul. Joining IGL Cinetic in Split 1 is controller duo Tyler FPS and Zane. This is a team that is just teeming with potential. We have seen flashes of growth from both Tyler and Zane over the years. However, neither of them had quite managed to deliver the consistency needed to bring home a major title. They will both head into Split 1 looking to prove their doubters wrong under the leadership of Synetic, who was one of the breakout stars of ALGS Year 4, establishing himself as one of the world's best IGLs despite only playing his first Pro League match in Split 1 last year. He certainly seems to have all the firepower that he could ever want, but can he get his two shooters into the right spots at the right time? Na'Vi, where else to start than with our
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. And what a finish that was to that previous game that we just saw, Dan. A 1v1 for the money, and it's Sykes who comes out on top of it for Envy. So much to talk about in those final moments. And I think for Envy, we talk about teams who are maybe struggling for confidence a little bit in the build-up to this week and this opening week of the ALGS Pro League for Americas. And I think Envy certainly fit that bill, right? They were desperate to find something because scrims hadn't looked great for them, but this final circle certainly did.
Yeah, that might just be the confidence builder they were after. Now, I'm very curious to see this final circle because I want to see who it was who made the push. I believe it was Dropped, who decided to take advantage of maybe a blind spot on the side of 100 Thieves. So FURIA go down, 100 Thieves, Verhulst, yeah, and look at this push from Dropped. A blind spot takes Verhulst out from the right, and that just allowed this play to happen where it ended up as a 1v1. Now, we can see this from Sykes' point of view instead of Jen Burton's, and he played these shields magically.
Fascinating that both players had white knockdown shields to play around as well. You can see Sykes actually uses the 100 Thieves knockdown as well, and then swings out at the last second. So just as his knockdown goes down, he's close enough to the 100 Thieves players that he can actually just soak up a few extra bullets himself with those knockdowns. So Sykes showing exactly how to play a 1v1 scenario perfectly in those final moments. And you were watching from the POV of Jen, you're like, Jen's got this. Jen's got this. It pops up with Envy your champions. I'm like, maybe Sykes has got this. Sykes has made a hell of a play here. But that's how you play those situations, right? It's about navigating those knockdowns, and there's always ways to find an extra second to stay alive. And I like how he tried to kind of abduct with the portal from Alter as well in that final moment to force Jen out from behind that cover. It was very, very smart. Understanding of every single situation and ability he had at his disposal.
Yeah, I think it's about staying calm in those situations as well, because even if you think you're ahead, all it takes is you getting a little bit antsy and wanting to, start to push a little bit too soon, and then you expose yourself to too much damage. You really do have to play the shields, and it's so difficult because you don't want to allow your opponent to have too much time. You don't want to give them the chance to maybe pop a shield cell, for example. So you have to get somewhat aggressive. Had the high ground as well, but it was just the way Sykes was able to manipulate those shields to his advantage. And also with the P2020 spam, I mean, you have to trust the spread sometimes, and you almost have to just go for the headshots, but also say, well, how's the easiest way I'm going to hit this damage? Do I go for body shots instead rather than just aiming for what's available? It's tough scenario in a 1v1 like that, and Sykes certainly put on a good show for us.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the bloom on those P2020s that can be a little bit of a problem sometimes in those scenarios where you think that you're doing the right thing, but there's that element of randomness to some of those bullets that's like, ooh, am I doing the right thing? Is what I want to happen going to happen? And I'm sure that Jen will look at that and maybe think he could probably play the situation better. He'll probably understand that himself, but it's one of those situations where sometimes you just got to hit the shots in the end. And if you've got P2020s, sometimes the bloom is going to be in your favor, sometimes it's not. So one of those situations to look back on, but the fact that we had 100 Thieves, Envy, Falcons involved in that end game as well, it's a fascinating look at what is to come for the ALGS. And I think the VDR had a really good game as well with some good KP on the board. And I mean, when you look at the series standings, Dan, it's a point or so between the top teams at the moment. We've still got 2 maps to go.
Yeah, 5 points between the top 9, which is pretty insane. And even if you go further down there, I mean, locked in CTE, you still have a chance to catch up here with 1 game. I mean, you're not even that far behind realistically. If you're like Falcons, for example, they are half of first place. But if Falcons have a game that we know they are capable of, they could jump up to first place themselves. So this is all very open in day 1 here of Americas in Pro League. And I'm excited for match 5 because we've just seen Alter now banned. So this is going to be a very different game going into game 5 on E-District.
Yeah, Newcastle's still available though, so I feel like if we follow a pattern that we saw in EMEA, it's going to be interesting to see if Newcastle, we see that kind of style of game that we saw back at the ALGS Championships, where everyone plays for a little spot, plays around the Newcastle wall, and they're going to be able to execute that with Newcastle still being available. And of course, if you're excited about what you've seen today, both EMEA and the Americas, you should be excited about what we got coming up as well, because of course, New Orleans is just around the corner. The ALGS Open is just around the corner. The biggest ever ALGS event with 160 teams invited to participate. May 1st to the 4th. You can get your tickets right there. Use a QR code. Do everything that you should do. If you're not going, why not? I'm disappointed in you. You should be. Get tickets now. Book your hotel. Do everything you need to do. Dan's got a spare bed. He said that you can stay with him if you can't.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but you want to be there. Apex live events are like nothing else in esports, and it really is a spectacle, especially when you get to those match point finals, as everyone chants one more game, and it really is just something that you have to witness to understand.
You have to feel, you have to be there, you have to be there. And speaking of the events, Japan was a special one. And if you want to get a little bit more excited about New Orleans, then check this out. New Orleans, beignets and grenades. If you know, you know. But there's going to be an incredible event. And Dan, unfortunately, this year, I'm a day out on my birthday. And Wig's birthday as well. We'll be there on the Monday. I'll be in an airport on the Monday. I'll be spending my birthday in a plane. I wonder if they'll upgrade me.
No, probably not. They're not very kind when it comes to those things.
Anyone works
maybe
for Delta or Virgin Atlantic right now who is watching, put a good word in for me. Okay?
I mean, if you're really lucky, it's not impossible. Has happened, but I'm sure we can find a way to bring you a birthday cake out or something. You know, it's close enough.
Last time I've never been more embarrassed. So please don't. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I would like to say that I was
it's a good
part
thing.
of it, but it was fun. Excited for you and Wig to celebrate on Sunday night. No, that will certainly be something we can look forward to. But also, we're going to be look forward to Game 5 here. So the patterns from scrims are slightly different here because Newcastle was banned in Game 3 in scrims. Newcastle's still alive here in Game 5. So that does open up a whole new avenue when it comes to these compositions for legend selection. So I think Game 5 is going to play pretty similarly. I mean, we did see more cryptos in Game 4 than we did see Newcastle's, though. I think that might change going into Game 5, but there is a small chance that crypto could get banned going into Game 6. We'll have to see.
Well, a lot of look ahead to New Orleans, of course. Let's take a look back on what we've seen, though, so far, because, you know, we've got 2 more maps remaining here as the lobby is almost ready to get underway, as I take a cursory glance to my left-hand side and get that information. And we, like you say, we're going to see Alter banned now, so we're not going to see plays like this, although that isn't probably the best example of what you can do with Alter. However, we did see a couple of abductions that turned into KP in that last game by firing that portal towards the wall, dragging players out from the positions that they were kind of hiding and stuck in behind one of those pieces of natural cover. So I love how Alter is, even though it's fairly new to a lot of these players who haven't got a huge amount of experience, we're seeing that tech develop and those playmaking abilities that the Legend has.
Yeah, it was a really exciting game. It's so difficult to try and play as well when there's alters in the lobby because you never know where someone's going to arrive from or abduct you from. So I think there's a lot of anxiety in the lobby when alters here. So maybe that's going to calm down a little bit going into Game 5, but that just means that Newcastle walls could slam out of nowhere and catch you off guard as well. But there's teams that can certainly take advantage of this in Game 5. The squads that maybe have all been running alter gonna have to switch now. More Wraith, for example, might start to pop up. So this is gonna be an interesting one. Oh no, Wraith got banned, excuse me. So yeah, Wraith banned in Game 3. So it's gonna be really tough for these teams trying to find a new kind of assault character. Maybe more ballistic comes into the equation.
Certainly an option. Maybe we're going to see Fuse taking a little bit of the role of entry fragger this time around. This is the map schedule. This is who has won games so far. No repeat winners so far, and 2 maps still to go. There are your legend bands as well. Ash, Catalyst, Wraith, and Altar. None of those legends will be able to be played in these final 2 games. And just very quickly, speaking of birthdays, Dan, there's one person that we've forgotten. 2 people, actually, that we've forgotten whose birthday is today. Phony's birthday is today, I believe. So happy birthday to Phony. And also one of our favorite people in the world in the Apex Legends Global Series, it's Vicky's birthday today. So happy birthday to Vicky.
Happy birthday, Vicky.
Send your regards to Vicky.
Send your regards? That sounds very different. But yes, happy birthday, Vicky.
Is that not what you say?
I mean, I think it is, but it's also what you say when, like...
Say season's greetings to Vicky.
Send any birthday cards, any flowers, whatever you want to send. Yeah, happy birthday, Vicky. We will see her, I'm sure, very soon in Pro League as she comes on to give her...
Do a much better job than we have.
Hopefully she doesn't have any birthdays to wish anyone because we've done a terrible job.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing I am looking forward to is a hot take from Vicky Kitty.
Oh,
that
wow,
is going to be... That is going to be unmissable television.
When Vicky gets fiery, when her fiery side comes out,
let me tell you.
I'm sure it'll have something to do with controllers as well, knowing her. But we'll wait and we'll see. Very excited for that.
I like the idea that she's going to, her hot take is people don't respect when she shows her ranked clips enough. Anyway, into the game, everybody. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for bearing with us. And thank you quite simply for dealing with us as we waited for this lobby to get back underway. But we are now live in Game 5, the penultimate game here of Week 1, Game Day 1 of the Apex Legends Global Series, America's Pro League. And we're starting off with the winners of our previous game. We got a little bit of envy for you.
Onset sends his regards. Envy had an incredible game prior. They really showed us what they were made of. An amazing push from Drops and then a great clutch from Sykes. Of course, they are switching things up. No altar available for anyone here. And look at the amount of ballistics that are suddenly in this lobby. And I tell you what, it's not a Newcastle ban. It's going to be a crypto ban. 12 cryptos, 11 ballistics, and 9 Newcastles, as well as 9 Fuse. So crypto has been the most popular pick here.
Interesting to me that Newcastle has survived the entire series. I would have thought the Newcastle would have been out earlier, but obviously people were trying to maybe find a workaround because they know they wouldn't be able to rely on Newcastle if everyone was playing it all the time. So maybe some of those compositions that have come through at the start of things are a little bit with that in mind. So speaking of zone, though, we're going up towards City Hall on 100 Thieves on Phony's birthday. I'm going to be very happy because not only is it heading their way, they're going to know it as well because they've got a ring console.
They do have a ring console available to them. The real question is, have they got blue on Fuse yet so you can actually use that ring console? That's always the tricky part. Well, SR, a team that have been kind of manipulating the legend ban system in their favor a little bit so they don't have to change those legends as often as others. You've still got MT and Zainu on Fuse and Crypto as they have been throughout the entirety of this series. It's been Koiful who's changed from assault character to assault character or a skirmisher as well, and it's going to be Ballistic as the choice for Koiful in this one. The real question is, can they start to create a little bit of a gap at the top again? Because they had a bit of a dud game and have allowed everyone to catch up.
Yeah, ahead by 0 points at the moment, tied with second place at the moment. 34 points is fairly low, you would say, for a week of Pro League after 4 games as well. It hasn't been that kind of week where we've had one team really come out of the gates and have a monster couple of games and everyone else is thinking, okay, we kind of just got to settle for what's in behind. But Oblivion already getting very, very aggressive.
Sadly, it's going to be Empire on the receiving end of it, but I think it's just one. I think Oblivion saw an opportunity of a straggler. They jumped straight on him, and Oblivion will get at least 1 KP, and they start to close that gap to Shopify Rebellion, because Oblivion, they're only 3 points behind now as they continue their pursuit of any remaining players, but looks like not going to be able to find them. Empire have been able to actually scatter so much. One is in Old Town and one is in Shipyard Arcade.
Maybe they're looking at the Aurora playbook on E-District, which is
the difference.
Everyone go everywhere, get as much Evo as possible. Whoever gets knocked, one of us will be alive to res. It's fascinating to watch how this develops. EMP will not connect. Envy did pick up 1 KP, by the way, on their way forward towards this position. It was Zap who got that knock, if I'm not mistaken, and the kill. Yes, indeed. You can see that on the top right-hand side of your screen. And now he's holding the line and saying, if anyone wants to peek, I will teach.
Envy actually going back on themselves here. Are they going to go for a little further rotation? I don't think they liked what they saw ahead of them. 2 teams that could potentially be holding them out, but there is actually an opening on the southeast side. They might not know that yet, but they're going to see it as they approach, especially with the vantage point of that bridge. And there's a couple of nervy fights, because I think you're right. I mean, the points total is not as high as maybe as it could be after 4 games, but that's what happens when you have a lobby this stacked. 10 plus teams who, you know, we heard it earlier from the viewers just saying that any of these 10 teams could win it, and there's a few underdogs here as they can also pull things off. It's just a lobby where it's very difficult to accumulate points.
We did see Ape Gang, be eliminated in the meantime as the first team to fall in this lobby. Envy doing a little bit of damage themselves, and No Name in 16th position at the moment, but they might not be able to pick up many more KP in this game and many points for placements because the last player alive is being respawned, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe one of his escapes as one is about to be respawned, but this is the easiest KP that you can see in the ALGS. All they need to do is find out where he's landing and hit shots. Part one was done. Part 2 is now complete.
Oh, next up, Duck Hunt. Play pigeon shooting starts to begin. For Board, they will put a couple of more points on the board. Much needed points for Board, has to be said, but more than they were able to achieve during scrims. So, you know, positives and improvements, which is all you can do really when you're in a lobby with this many heavy hitters. And I don't mean that to kind of discredit Board in their performance at all. This is not a lobby where you are going to comfortably find points if you are kind of a new addition or a team that hasn't played as much as some of the heavy hitters. So they're doing well to at least have 11 on the board.
Shopify Rebellion, 1 point on the board for them. Extends their lead by 1.
By 1.
Very easy to keep track of, even for my very, very challenged mathematical brain. Liquid Alienware. Just heading into zone for a few moments here to craft a little bit.
Let's migrate over there.
And they are on the northern side of this zone at the moment, very much on their own. One team who's moved into a fantastic position, by the way, where this zone is going to be pulling is Team Falcons. And boy, do they need points. A better performance in that previous game. But the great thing for them, like you mentioned quite rightly, look at the overall standings. How this entire day could change in 2 games for Falcons. There they are, right in the middle of City Hall, where that zone is going to be pulling. Now, they're only couple of games away from winning this thing, which is crazy considering the position they find themselves in going into game number 5 here, but still very, very possible for them to turn this day around.
Yeah, it just shows how tight this lobby is that you can be in 15th position and feel that way. I would imagine they should feel that way as well, because you can ask the Falcons players themselves. They're always going to be confident in their own ability, and they recognize when circles have been difficult, when the zone maybe hasn't been going your way, or maybe someone just ruins your game. But HUSS have now arrived next to Falcons, actually, as you can see on the map overhead. Liquid Alienware are just going to be northwest of them. And HUSS, can they find a home? It looks like the answer is yes. They've been able to avoid Falcons, and they at least have some playable space here, dead center zone.
And it is a very, very playable space because the fact that Newcastle has yet to be banned. So you can get a wall down in here. It's going to cover essentially the entirety of this. And you've got the natural cover above and to the side. Coinfall! Jeez, there's something about the way that this guy aims. He just feels almost robotic when he's got these weapons in his hands. It's going to be Zainu who gets credited with the kill, but it's the damage and the impact that Coinfall had that's opened things up here.
And Coinfall gets a third weapon, playing ballistic as well. You saw the charged up Rampage came into the equation. If he wasn't already good enough with 2 guns, giving him a 3rd gun is maybe unfair, if I'm honest, and maybe I veto ballistic being available for Coinfall.
Like how, by the way, that Zainu was credited with that kill. He's got 4 damage. 4 damage?
Very important 4, though.
That's the one I look back on the post-game lobby and go, guys, I got 1 kill. I mean,
what are you doing?
up, please. Yeah, step it up. Shopify Rebellion, up by 2 points.
Good.
Thank you.
Oh, maybe some struggles here for HUSS. No, Falcons actually eliminate the team that was starting to approach HUSS.
How's the definition of 1 HP right now? Also trying to put in a little bit of cover, and the difficulty of playing this kind of building inside of City Hall is, as you can see, there's a lot of open windows and a lot of open hallways, doorways, and it's difficult to hold down the majority of the structure. You imagine later on in the game when teams are trying to force their way in, those bottom floors are going to be somewhere where they're going to try and take it away from Falcons, and then you just have to worry about the angles that teams are going to try and do damage to you from. Al did manage to get that battery off. He's going to have to pick up a few more from a teammate, but Falcons with a couple of KP on the board already.
Well, with this amount of ballistics in a lobby, I can foresee an end game where it all comes down to your gun overheating in a final 1v1, and that's going to be both painful and glorious to watch if it does happen. And maybe it could be Hal who does it on the ballistic. I didn't think we'd be seeing this much ballistic, has to be said, but that's what legend bans can do. It can make a legend who might not necessarily be picked normally very prominent in the lobby. For 100 Thieves, they're still on 33 points. They're in 4th place at the moment, and they have a nice little place to call home here, so not too much worried for them at the moment. They're just kind of hunkered down, and they're going to wait to see where this zone starts to move.
Yeah, they're going to be good for a couple of zones here, 100 Thieves. This is just about seeing if they can pick off teams that are rotating in late. Any downs come in, they might be able to overextend, third party something, as long as they don't give this spot up. But you can see that they are hunkered down for the long game here. They've got the Newcastle wall down. They've got good angles to play. 100 Thieves in a great spot.
Unless it's threatened by someone trying to take it off them, they should be good for quite some time, as you alluded to. The zone is going to move slightly further east than where 100 Thieves currently are, and it moves towards actually the central area that HUSS found themselves in. Unleash are also going to be there, and there's going to be plenty of room for them to find kills, as Board are going to pick up a Mythic bin, and they are going to have a chance to have that red armor available to them through the helmet. So a good opportunity for them to maybe pick up some points and start to catch up these lobby leaders.
This is happening on the south side. Look at Envy. Envy maybe were thinking about that themselves, and they might be trying to catch Board off guard, but a very difficult fight to take when you know they've just hit that Mythic, because the likelihood is they're going to have a power weapon, they're going to have a red shield to play with. So Envy actually, I think, played this one quite smart. They tried to see if they could pick one off and instead just let them rotate ahead of them, knowing the firepower that they might have. But look at Shopify and Empire on the right-hand side of your screen, on the eastern side of the zone. They're having a little bit of a scrap right now, and there's not a lot of space for them to play.
No, not at all. I think that that's actually going to be a fight that has to conclude, and we're going to see the conclusion of it now. Koifu's taking a lot of damage, though.
Koi taking damage, but you know he's going to output some as well. Zainu swings at just the right time to help his teammate out. It's up to Zainu and Koi. Koi's still alive with 1 HP, by the way. Trying to pop that shield barrier, is about halfway done. Zainu just trying to suppress the final player from Empire inside of this little hut. Carter's going to try and peek out the back. And Koi has popped that battery, but they've lost MT in the meantime. Are they able to get their IGL back up?
It looks like they're opting just to kind of back up a little bit and try and play the long game here and see if they can survive, but there's more teams with eyes on. Zainu goes down, and now it's just down to Koifu on the ballistic to try and survive here. There is a few areas he can hide in, but you can see Deeds wants to push this and wants to get the kill.
Deeds versus Koi. A little bit of help coming in from elsewhere as Deeds overextends for VDR and will contribute to the kill, but it's actually Keon from FURIA who gets credited with it. So a bit of frustrating situation there for VDR when you think that's yours and it gets stolen away. But at the end of the day, the threat is dealt with, and Shopify Rebellion, who were first place coming into this lobby, might watch someone overtake them now.
Yeah, they might. Certainly open for someone to now take the lead and try and put themselves in kind of prime position to take this entire lobby going into match 6. Maybe it could be VDR. Remember, they have got to a few end games, but haven't necessarily been able to convert them as of yet. This one could be the one, though. You look at that circle, and VDR can play the southern side of that building, and they are still in, but they will have contenders like FURIA and Empire nearby that could maybe shake things up. You can see Falcons are in the building as well, just to their west. And you've also got HUSS. Remember HUSS? They forced their way into the center of the zone, somehow stayed alive, had the Newcastle to play with, and they are still going to be in contention to win this game too.
It's a really big moment in this game here, how teams try and navigate. Look how many teams are outside of that next zone. Not worrying about the one after that, but just outside it. NRG outside, Liquid, Falcons, FURIA, VDR, all... I mean, VDR will be fine in their building, but everyone else has to move. And then you look at the southern side. That is going to be carnage as people try to leave. You've got Envy, 100 Thieves, CTE. Unleash are going to be holding those teams out. Locked In are going to be holding those teams out. Board now moving in on the position of Locked In themselves. This is going to be one of those zones. You get the feeling that if you don't have a rotational character, which not a lot of the teams do, due to the legend bans, it's going to be a tough move to get safe in this next zone.
Mark, I'm already nervous about Game 6 and we're still in Game 5. That's how tight this
I'm
lobby
nervous about
currently
Game
is.
5. I'll be nervous about Game 5 for the rest of it. You can be nervous about Game 6.
I'll start to think about Game 6 and be worried for all the players because this is so tight. Still, no one has really taken any command in this game, and those who are at the top are starting to drop off. 4 squads now eliminated. Maybe we're going to see one of the teams that are down in the, like, you know, top 15 take a game here and just close it even further. This could be arguably the tightest lobby we've ever seen in Pro League history if it keeps going this way. NRG move down to the southern side, but there's going to be 100 Thieves and Flat ahead of them. Let's maybe take a listen in, though, to NRG and see how they approach this one.
What's going on us? I'm smoking in front of us. Fight them, blue armors right here. Fight them. I'm holding them. Okay, I'm getting on their head. Good damage. Good. Stop. On me safe. I'm batting. On me safe. Yeah. I'm making it. No drone. We have to be careful of this. Yeah. Shoot them back. 10 seconds. No smoke for 10 seconds, okay? They're trying to play this corner down here. Yeah, that's fine. Walk down. Play me. Yeah. You gotta have to start pressuring them. Can't let them just do this for free. Yeah, I'm nading them. I'm nading them. Above us. I'm good. I'm banging high. Yeah, good bangle. Yeah, we're good. I'm gonna join. Give me a sec. Guys, if I nade this thing, we can kill them, I think. I'm just shooting.
Well, Timmy making the calls here for NRG, and they look pretty good at the moment, but it's a tough move for them. They've got a team below them. That team above them is a worry. But for now, NRG is surviving. They're looking for these KP on the low ground.
Can they continue this aggression? I mean, it all fell into pieces in front of them. All fell in front of them to then pick up the pieces, excuse me. And then they survived.
Got any of those kills?
Well, Abrelelli, a slither of health. Are they going to be able to survive it? Oh, that might be it. Oh, he gets the battle!
He gets the battle, but it just delays the inevitable. Stallions eliminated. 10 squads now remaining as HUSS move their way towards zone as well. MPIRE eliminated in the meantime. NRG still alive here, and they've managed to progress up to this high ground as well.
Well, NRG, could they be the team that picks up points here to make this even tighter going into Game 6? But they do have to try and traverse a little bit further north. Liquid Alienware taking this flight. They've lost Jaguares, but they are going to be able to get him back up thanks to the Newcastle here.
Oblivion taking the damage. Jelly trying to fly in. He'll be the last player eliminated. Oblivion, or as I like to call them, Oblivion, will be next out in the lobby. Now a 1v1 here for Guild. Flies in on Rambo. But it's not quite the 1v1 I thought. NRG have gone locked in, eliminated in the meantime. Envy come up and clean these pieces up. Locked in, gone. Unleashed, gone. Envy survive.
Could it be Envy who takes advantage yet again? But again, they still have to move further southeast. FURIA have found a corner to work with alongside the rampart walls, and above them is going to be VDR. The lobby quiets down a little bit. There's a few explosions here or there, but most teams looks like they've found somewhere to play. A little bit of back and forth, though, between Envy, and I think they've just been able to stop it. Some suppressive fire coming in just to stop them being pushed.
Very serial figures of them. Liquid Alienware eliminated in the meantime. Envy look like they're on a little bit of a charge here, to be honest with you. Flatter on this high ground, but there's not many bullets being fired between the two teams until Sykes moves in now. Dropped is on the flank. Nano fires back. Does a good amount of damage. It's going to grab the down here as Zap will be moving in onto Nano to try and finish off this fight. And oh my word, Envy move into first place, but now here come HUSS.
HUSS should be able to clean this up as well. Zap's done wonders, but it should end here. Surely
Wait a minute.
Hold on a second. What a hold that was. You'd imagine so close from them, but HUSS just about hold with Duplex. And they say, no, you are not going to be able to take us down.
Well, the teams who remain in this lobby, after all of that ridiculous exchange of fire, are FURIA, HUSS, and VDR. 3 teams is all that remains, and look at the size of the zone.
A chance for someone to take advantage and gain a lead here. HUSS second place on 42 points at the moment. VDR fourth place on 39. As for FURIA, they can catch up. They're on 37 points in 8th position. It's Envy who are currently in first, but of course, likely to be overtaken here by either HUSS or VDR. But you can see it's just everyone assessing the scenario at the moment. How do we get towards the middle here? And who is going to jump first?
Oh no! Oh no! FURIA just getting ripped by Sheila. By the way, HUSS, excuse me, on your screen, 3 red armors. We talked about how rare that is to get 1. They've found 3.
Reps has just gone down as well. Skittlecake's getting the knock. BDR struggling a little bit. They've been backed up into a corner. HUSS kind of have the vantage point. They've got eyes on everyone below, and they've got a Kraber.
Kraber hits 150, but not a knock. But Jed's gonna get the fin, or the down, I should say. And Skittlecakes, he sees them lined up. Skittle, what are you doing to poor old VDR? That is a disgusting angle.
Stop! They were already dead. Surely HUSS cleaned this thing up.
What a performance this would be from HUSS. In the penultimate game, 3 squads remain, but it's just the pieces of FURIA, and I think 1 remaining member of VDR. HUSS will move in. VDR are gone as HUSS will be your champion.
HUSS march on, and they make onset start to chant their names once more. They take the lead in this series. They move up to 52 points and create a 7-point gap between themselves and Envy. Could it be HUSS's names we are chanting at the end of this series? They are certainly putting on a show for us.
Legend bans is the greatest thing to have ever happened to Apex Legends. This is so fun to watch. It's so entertaining. And now with our match results coming in as well, there's a few teams who are loving it as well. One of those is HUSS, 22 points after the win in the 10KP. FURIA somehow managed to survive until top 2. VDR into the top 3, but it was Envy who were on a run of their own, who put 15 points on the board in that match 5, mostly thanks to those 10KP as they just ran a train through most of the edge of the zone. It was impressive stuff to watch from them.
And whilst it was extremely tight at the top before, and don't get me wrong, still very close between the top 8 teams, but maybe you could narrow that down to the top 4, considering how HUSS have taken a little bit of an advantage. It is no longer as achievable for a team like Falcons, for example, in 15th to suddenly jump up and win this thing. I think that would be a tall order, 31, 32 points to be able to put themselves up in first place, assuming HUSS got 0. So instead, our attention is starting to lean away from those who are in the bottom 10, and instead we start to see our front runners. HUSS, Envy, Liquid Alienware, FURIA, and VDR are our leaders going into match 6 in what has proven to be one of the tightest Pro League matches we have ever seen.
Shopify Rebellion fall from 1st to 7th. We'll have to see if they can reclaim that first place as our final game is coming up in just a few moments. Don't go far. Game number 6 is on the way.
Turning to Team Burger and APAC South, this iconic free agent team has some new faces. Burger veteran Pricey is joined by Player K and Strafing Flame, who many will remember from their time on Legends Gaming and most recently Disguised. One thing these 3 players absolutely do not lack is experience. This team has been there, done that when it comes to playing on the global stage. They know how to perform consistently week in, week out across a pro league. What they will want to work on across Split 1 is improvements to take the next step on LAN. Pricey is stepping back from his time as an IGL to focus on fragging, and how quickly he gets back into the groove in this role will be crucial. All 3 of these players left Sapporo disappointed, something that they will want to avoid at the upcoming ALGS Open and beyond. Jesco and Legacy are heading into Year 5 without Phony. However, what is a better replacement for a LAN winner than a multi-LAN champion in Sharky? The former Dark Zero player is yet to relive the heights of 2022, where he won back-to-back LAN events. However, his experience and natural talent is undeniable. Not many players could take a large break from Apex Legends and then return right back to top-level LAN competition. One of the questions hanging over this team for now, however, is around leadership. Legacy is looking to take on IGL duties, with Sharky having tried his hand at it at times across Year 4. No one on this team has really had LAN success in the IGL role, and Legacy will want to get as much experience under his belt as possible. XNY operate very differently from other rosters, and therefore it is no surprise to see them still together despite the roster mania that took place during the off-season. They have said that they are more like a band of brothers than teammates, and this unity and chemistry helped them finish 4th in the last ALGS Pro League. JR is the key that can unlock success for this team. He is a fearsome fighter with immense mechanical skill, considered at times the best in all of China. XNY will be looking to build on their first LAN experiences last year with a strong Pro League showing to keep working together and improving across Year 5.
We're back, everybody. We are back. Game number 6 is just around the corner, and if you've missed the first 5 games, well, at least you're here for what is going to be one of the best games that we've seen in quite some time. Games 1 to 5, Dan. Some of the most exhilarating Apex Legends we've seen in the Pro League, and this is only week 1, and we still have no idea who is going to be first place as we take a look back on our final circle from Game 5.
Just so many massive fights, so many engagements that are taken by teams because they're either forced to because of the lack of legends to support the way they would like to play, or just because they know that if they don't take that fight and win, they're going to have such little effort to get in later. It's just such a difficult situation to try and be in here. Do you take the fight? Do you try and survive? Otherwise, you might not get the points that you so desperately need. And we watched the final moments of this previous game here where HUSS were just kind of commanding the space. And yes, even though in the end it looked comfortable, it was the fights that were won previously by HUSS that gave them that advantage. You don't just get 3 red armors for no reason. You get 3 red armors because you have fought through the lobby. You have battled thick and thin to be able to take those armors off of people's dead bodies.
Yeah, it's an amazing performance from them, and what a time to do it. But now it's about closing out. It's about making sure that that great performance does not go unrewarded and that you are in first place when this game is done and dusted. E-District has been such a different feeling map thanks to the legend bans. I mean, I keep talking about Japan and how different it feels, right? It was all about Newcastle. It was Newcastle, Newcastle, Newcastle. Everybody playing a corner. We were having a lot less fights earlier on. We were having Valcolt into space to then get that castle wall down. But now it just feels like the game has opened up and we are seeing so many influential moments that are relying on gun skill and big team fights more than anything else.
Yeah, and some people may be reluctant to pick Newcastle, worrying that Newcastle was going to be banned going into Game 6 as well. However, it ends up going kind of the opposite way, where maybe people second-guess themselves. Crypto ends up getting banned in Game 5. So then that opens up the recon slot here a little bit for teams. And I'm almost more excited to see a match 6 without Crypto than I would have been to see a match 6 without Newcastle, because yes, we're going to see plenty more Newcastles going into this match 6, but who fills that role for hitting survey beacons for you? Because we've also lost Alter, so maybe we see a new inclusion here. Maybe we see something a little bit different from some of these squads, or maybe you just sacrifice recon altogether and instead just go down the ring console route. Of course, Fuse is still available as well. We see Caustic still available in the controller section. So yeah, this one's going to be an interesting one when it comes to Legend selection.
Do you reckon HUSS can hold on in this final game, or do you think we're going to have another twist in the tail of week 1?
Based on how it's gone so far, I think there is another twist in the tail. I think someone has something up the sleeve, and it is definitely not won by HUSS as of yet, but also with how they've been playing, if they can kind of assert that much dominance through the lobby, that confident in their engagements, in their fights, and their pushes, and they pick those moments right, we might see HUSS walk away from this as victors, unsigned, going into week 2 of Pro League, but maybe could be signed by the time we get there.
Well, let's take a look at the series results so that if you are just joining us or if you want a little refresher, well, we've got you covered. This is how the point standings are looking after 5 games here in week number 1. Well, that'll come in just a few seconds, and when we get the math added up, we'll show you at home. But it is going to be HUSS who lead the way at the moment, probably with one of the biggest leads that we've seen so far, and it's only the 7-point stand between them and Envy.
Yeah, and 7 points, I mean, 7 points can both be a lot and also not very much. It depends what happens around them, because if we see Envy eliminated early, suddenly that 7-point lead becomes a 9-point lead over Liquid Alienware, right? Oh, sorry, 11-point lead over Liquid Alienware. And that is a bigger difference. Then suddenly you're looking at Liquid Alienware having to realistically get into the top 3. Same for FURIA with a 12-point difference between them. And then it might be a bit more comfortable for HUSS. So I think for HUSS, what's important here, maybe the playstyle changes. I know maybe I'm contradicting myself here, and I was saying, you know, if HUSS play with that same kind of raw aggression, but actually, survival could be key here. Maybe HUSS do need to play the ring console game, just try and like hunker down, get to the end game, and secure a good 5 or 6 points, and that might be enough to keep them at #1 when everything is said and done.
And don't get me wrong, I'm looking down to like 10th to 15th, how those points can change very quickly. If one of those teams wins, it's probably a top 6 performance from them instead of a top 15. So still a lot to play for as we take a look at the legend bans that have taken place so far. Ash was first to go today, then it was Catalyst, then it was Wraith, then it was Alter, and then game number 5, we say goodbye to Crypto. So looking at what's available, Rampart's still available as that controller legend who can hit Beacon. You've got Fuse, of course, with the blue perk who can hit that ring console as well. I mean, it's an interesting one. We've seen a little bit of a touch of Caustic as well. Teams have been kind of experimenting with that again. Probably not going to see any Recon Legends though, unless someone decides to maybe play Valk, but that seems like a little bit of a big move away from a lot of these teams' macro at the moment.
Yeah, Valk could be the only one, but this also is what excites me about, you know, potential match point situation with these legend bans, because you don't really want a Seer, you don't really want a Bloodhound, but there is potentially a chance when it comes to match point, you might need a Seer. You might have to play a Bloodhound, and that could just change everything going into it. And that's when your legend pool really has to be deep, and we might see those ranked grinders show up on our screens. But a 7-point lead going into it for HUSS. Can they continue things into match 6? I think we're going to see a lot of Ballistic. Again, I think Ballistic, Fuse, Newcastle could be definitely a very common composition that we're going to see here in match 6, Mark.
And we'll take a look at the E-District POIs as well. So if you're just joining in, we can set you up for what to expect in this game as well. This is how the POI draft went down. This is where all the teams will be landing. Pick number 1 did go to Falcons. The games certainly haven't gone their way as yet. And all the way down to Unleash. I feel like Vibe Isle, if you're 20th place, at least you're getting Vibe Isle. You know, at least it's got a sick name.
Falcons chose first.
Disagree with me. Disagree with me.
I mean,
how can you? Exactly.
Dig Vibe is going to be the person who wants to be at Vibe Isle just for ultimate vibes. Falcons took Heights. We did see, was it match 6 in EMEA that took us to Heights? Yeah, it was. So, you know, hey, if those patterns start to arise, if the script goes right for Falcons, maybe they'll be happy for getting that first pick. And, I mean, interestingly, if it is correct, and that is no shade at anyone behind the scenes if this isn't correct, but this is so vastly different from EMEA, where EMEA all prioritized Storm Point. In Americas, people prioritized E-District from what we can see at the moment, and it is such a difference that's what makes me think, you know, is this right? And if it is, it really does show that regionally things are just so different for what teams are going to prioritize, which gets me so excited for the ALGS Open. Well, I mean, 160 teams suddenly come into the equation, and who knows what the POI draft's going to look like.
One thing we can guarantee, I almost feel like with 160 teams, surely we have to see every legend played at an ALGS event for the first time ever.
Possible. If it's going to happen.
We'll keep our eyes on that one. Well, I won't, because I won't pay enough attention. I have a very short attention span, as you well know, but somebody more intelligent and experienced than me will do exactly that. We'll take a look at some of the match highlights that we've had so far as this lobby is almost ready to go, everyone. We are getting closer and closer. This is from the previous match that we just saw. So, I mean, Dan, this was the HUSS show, if I'm not mistaken.
It was indeed. I think that HUSS have put their best foot forward here. And, you know, even if they don't take first place, let's say a world they get eliminated earlier, still a very strong points total to put on the board after week 1 of Pro League, where, you know, in a lobby that's difficult to get points, I think they'll be very happy with what they've already achieved. But they'll want to put the icing on the cake here and make sure they come out as #1 and also give themselves the best chance of being signed, because what better way than being #1 here in Pro League?
And just to remind everyone as well, I did fix Dupe's audio, so if they win today, my services will be available at a much increased rate. I'll have to see if I can get some business off the back of that. But Envy, this run that they went on in this mid-game, almost actually managed to hold off HUSS. This could have been the actual fight that ends up deciding who wins this game. I mean, you're looking at the output of damage from Envy. They did a really good job not being fully reset to almost turn that one around.
Almost, but not quite close enough. And that's what has been very exciting about a lot of these fights. By the way, we've seen, well, how many collats have we seen with the Kraber today?
More than we've seen, I think, ever in the LGS.
Maybe too many. Maybe we need to introduce weapon bans next. The Kraber gets banned after game 1. I'm joking, by the way. That is probably not a thing, but could be. Maybe that's something for a spicy topic in a future week. But we see the final circle here. HUSS did take the win, and they are going to be number 1 going into match 6.
So number 1 going into match 6, but will they go out of match 6 still being number 1? Now, if we were to go to a game 7, Newcastle would be banned, but we're not, because this is a 6-match series. So
wait, we don't know that yet.
Prevalent.
We haven't even seen how many teams have been picked. That's just people presuming.
No. The lobby's ready. I think there's tech. There's tech.
Okay, the lobby is ready
right now. You know what I mean?
Okay, the lobby is ready. Sorry, production.
Tech stuff is doing its tech.
Sorry, production.
If we were going to a match 7, which we're not, Newcastle would be banned. But think forward, everyone. Think match point. Think what's going to happen around game 9 and 10.
90% pick rate, by the way. If this is correct, which I think it is, Newcastle is going to be a big old pick for everyone. To be expected if he's still I say alive. I keep making out that the legends are dying when they're not selected and they get banned. They get
taken out back.
Come here, Newcastle. No, Newcastle is going to be very prominent for good reason, because you need it. We saw how difficult it was in match 6 of EMEA when there was no Newcastle available. You almost had to use raw gun skill just to force these fights, because there was very little ways of creating cover outside of Rampart. So yeah, excited to see how this one goes.
Here we go then, everybody. Match 6 is finally ready. We thank you once again for bearing with us, and we'll just, I don't know, we'll blame someone, say they picked the wrong legend by accident, so they had to restart the lobby. Probably not true. Who cares at this point? Match number 6 is all that really matters. It's HUSS who are in first place with 52 points, and Newcastle is pretty much in everyone's composition.
Yeah, 18 Newcastles, 11 Ramparts, 9 Bangalores, 8 Ballistics, 7 Fuse, and then this is where it starts to get interesting. 2 Watsons, 2 Valkyries, 1 Mad Maggie, 1 Caustic, and 1 Lifeline. Didn't you say something about Lifeline? Didn't you say maybe was it a Lifeline? Yeah, 1 Lifeline coming into the fray here. But yeah, lots of Newcastle to be expected.
Interesting. One of the 2 Valkyries is on HUSS. Skittles jumped onto Valkyrie. Maybe that's a clear plan, like you mentioned, that HUSS are going to play for a console and they're going to just hit zone and try and survive. Hold on to first place. They've done the heavy lifting, so to speak, and now they just need to survive long enough to essentially outlive the chasing pack. This is where the teams are at the moment, and you can see the legend compositions that they are playing. There's some Bangalores around. There's a few different things that you kind of highlighted. Watson's being played by a few different teams, but the zone is central. And I love the fact that we have a bang center zone to finish this off. This is one of the toughest zones to play as well, because there's so much open space. Match 6 is set up to be one for the history books.
So HUSS do have a ring console and a survey beacon, by the way, so they can hit both. And you know what? Excuse me, Gassy. I like that opportunity for them. They can just Valkyrie up and they can get somewhere closer to zone and just try and hunker down and out-survive the teams that are closing in them. If they take an early fight here, then it would be very detrimental to their chances of leading this entire thing.
I really hope that Lord of the Rings 31 screamed, "Lord of the Rings!" just as he did that. Oh my goodness, this slam's going down everywhere. Empire aren't messing about here. They've found a team who's got white armor and they want to take this fight. No surprise, they've got blues.
Yeah, we're going to see a few teams that need points just starting to get a little bit more aggressive here. Riley's gone down though, and actually this aggression might just come to bite them in the backside.
2v2, although Lord of the Rings 31 finds himself with barely any HP. Empire trying to survive for now. Carter's going to throw a couple of Skynades. Still the 2v2 situation. It's actually going to become a 3v3. Oh, no, it's not, because that Skynade certainly hit. It's the 3v2 still. And they can't get the res right now due to the fact that so much damage was done to the second player as well.
You shall not res! The nade comes through, and Empire now surely can clean this up. It's just a matter of being aggressive, and they will. No name eliminated. Empire survive. 16th position. They need points.
Wonder if Lord of the Rings 31 LOTR actually doesn't stand for Lord of the Rings whatsoever. just branded him.
Love of the Riley. It's just, you know, admiring his teammate. That's all it is.
Love of the real toast. What it stands for. Fake toast. Anyway, Falcons 15th. Not a good day. Not good, in the words of their IGL 0. but it can certainly be improved with a good game here. And those shots are pretty damn good coming in from Imperial. How big damage going out.
Do we see a little bit more?
Zero's on lifeline.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, that's the one lifeline is going to be Zero. Has he lost it at this point? Or he's just got to that stage where he says, screw it, we're going lifeline, we're going for something a little bit different? Or is this going to be a legend selection masterclass? And at the end of this game, Falcons are on top and lifeline is one of the key reasons. Time will tell.
For now, no kills, just damage output. Waltz is up. Well, he's on blue at the moment, but the HUD is showing purple due to the fact that he's got that, of course, perk, thanks to playing that legend. NRG, scarpering across the bridge for now. Guild on the rampart, much similar to what we saw from Waltz. He's going to be essentially on purple himself, thanks to the abilities that he has on rampart. Moving their way towards zone. Everyone is almost in zone already, by the way. Shopify Rebellion are one of the teams who are taking their time. VDR on the opposite side of the map, taking their time as well. NRG trying to work their way through this choke. Ape Gang are on the other side of it. They've got to be careful here, NRG. Gotta check your corners.
You never know what might be waiting around at said corner. A few people have already been able to get some ambushes already today. Here's the #1 squad. They have been able to get into zone, by the way. So plan successful, and now you can start to build a base. Rampart walls come down. And all the meanwhile, they just watch that kill feed. Our team's going to be eliminated around them and just give them that little bit more security. But of course, they want to put as much points on the board as well here to try and stay ahead in the overalls.
Skills again. Just absolute chad with a single P2020.
I'm so
refusing to pick up a second one.
So happy to see Skill Cakes back, by the way.
And Duke, same. He's too talented. Too talented not to be involved in games like this. Ooh, Stallions will be able to get the res. Alb just about managed to scarp around the corner before he scraped his knees. A little bit of quiet here, just for a few seconds. Enemy trying to play around Alb, who's unfortunately still not to be rezzed, and that's the difficulty, right? If you're Newcastle as the player who goes down, and they can't drag you back. Crook trying to keep his head on the swivel right now. Just waiting for that rampage to do some damage. And damage it does! Oh my Crook! That's why you have that thing in the swing.
We've got work to do.
That's what a Ballistic can do. And that is why Ballistic can be a popular pick. As Board will be eliminated and their day will come to an end. A valiant effort throughout. But sadly, they will just have to watch on and see what happens in what could be one of the more exciting match fixes we've ever seen in Pro League. Stallions, 12th place, 26 points. Still a lot to do, but again, not impossible to find yourself in the top 3. Maybe winning it could be impossible, but top 3 is still achievable.
SR making their move flat. Might be about to surprise Koi, who gets very, very fortunate. MT has to burn the ult to get back to his teammate, and here comes the assault, the ambush from flat.
Big Louis with the big P2020s. MT goes down, Koi falls down as well. And Shopify Rebellion is just a matter of trying to escape here and maybe get back up to a full 3 elsewhere, but flat, job done for them. Again, this is what happens in match 6. A team who's down in the lower part of the leaderboards just starts to full send it and maybe catches some of these teams up towards the upper end off guard.
Big Louis is onto Zainu, and Zainu is dead. Shopify Rebellion are dead. They started off the day so impressively, winning game #1, having a good performance in game 2, but just falling off a little bit when it got to crunch time in these final games on E District. Let's take a look at our map overhead as we see our 2 teams eliminated. 3 teams eliminated. SR Aragon and Enagon as well, and Board all eliminated. That's where your zone's going to be going, and HUSS in a great spot here.
Yeah, a great spot to work with. FURIA under a little bit of pressure here. Again, MPIRE looking to try and be aggressive to try and find points, last-ditch points in match 6, and they've done a lot of damage. It looks like they're going to try and send it, but you expose yourself from the back. He says, you're going to have to toss me, and he walks on in, gets the kill, and sadly for FURIA, they're in a 2 versus 3.
A lover of the real toast, or whatever I called him, whatever I messed up with the acronym. He goes in with some big damage here, and it's going to be FURIA, who has a good placement so far today, but maybe not the KP to go alongside it. But now MPIRE got to be careful, because here comes VDR trying to find a little bit of a straggler, but they're not going to be able to find a free knock for now. But VDR will be able to move in on this position, and they'll get some free loot.
VDR still in the conversation for winning this whole thing today, by the way. They're a little way off first place, but not unachievable. 5th place at the moment on 39 points. Remember, HUSS currently hold first on 52. By the way, with Shopify Rebellion being eliminated, you mentioned it earlier, they dropped down to 7th. They could drop further as now MPIRE, they're sending it on to the last remaining player and will take out FURIA. So that's the end of the day for FURIA. They were in top 3, they've just dropped into 4th, so they could fall down further in the leaderboard as well.
Yeah, things are really opening up. You think about the teams that have been eliminated, Shopify Rebellion and now FURIA, 2 teams who are in that top 5. Well, they might be worrying about what's going to happen in this lobby for now. One team who wants to take advantage of the teams falling out ahead of them is NRG. 26 points overall at the moment. No massive games from NRG, but a little bit of productivity from the KP in that last game. Flat at the moment, they're going to be trying to hold out Oblivion on the other side of this. They're trying to work their way up this ramp.
God, it's so tense with some of these fights because with some of the angles some of these teams are trying to create, if they actually win the engagement, they force their way into a position that could turn out to be a great endgame position. Oblivion, they say, we have to go for the last-ditch attempt of just trying to full send it here. And they're going to try and take like a northern route and go all the way around. I mean, they're going to take a lot of ring damage, but if this works, they could maybe surprise the likes of Liquid Alienware, who currently hold that spot.
Also, HUSS. As you can see on the northern side of the zone, Oblivion in the zone, Liquid Alienware probably looking to pressurize HUSS at the moment. That could be a really, really big engagement if we see those 2 teams decide to fight. But look at where the zone's going. HUSS have called it absolutely to the T. One of the only buildings that is inside of that zone. And think of the comp they're playing as well. They've got the Rampart walls down. They've got the Newcastle wall down as well. Their survivability is a very, very high percentage one at the moment for this endgame.
So VDR being held out by Stallions. And there is an option. VDR can take a different route, by the way, which looks like they might be going for. They're going to traverse further east before they head towards the circle. It is the long way round, and will put them arguably last to rotate into zone, but I think it's more intelligent than taking the fight versus Stallions in that choke. So yeah, VDR retreat, and they keep their chances alive of getting further up into this lobby. Stallions will just watch them go.
So much tension in this lobby. You can really feel it just with the way that people were playing. Every mistake is going to be punished at this point. Kurev just looking to overextend to put some pressure onto Oblivion. But this is the team to keep your eyes on. First place still. And they just need to hold.
Great position that they find themselves in. The team opposite them is Falcons, actually, and you know, 2 very different stories for these teams. One who just wants to hold on, secure enough points to stay at the top, and one who desperately needs points to get closer to the top. Envy also still alive in this game. Remember, they are very much on the chase, just 7 points shy. And with 1 more squad being eliminated shortly, everyone gets that 1 extra point from placement. You have a feeling, Onset, that it's quite quiet at the moment, but this next zone, when it forces everyone in, there is going to be the kill feed set alight.
So many teams still in Energy Bank where this zone is going to pull away from. This is one of those, if you haven't moved early, you're going to have to win a lot of fights to find yourself involved in this final zone. Envy, one of those teams who have just found out they're going to have to move pretty soon as well, as they do get that zone information. And it is pulling away from the position that HUSS were in. So, all of a sudden, Oblivion, Liquid Alienware, and Falcons are surrounding HUSS, who have to move.
I mean, it's pulling away from everyone, really, isn't it? No one in that zone. Well, now there's one. But the majority of people not able to find themselves in this spot, which is going to be very... And this is what I mean by this next zone is going to light the kill feed up, because look at all those teams on the eastern side that are all going to move together. So this is why I was highlighting earlier, VDR being the last to get to the zone, because they are going to be the last to get to the next zone as well. They have to go through all these teams. Now, it could work out. If everyone starts to move and VDR go unnoticed, they might be able to pick up the pieces, but it is not an easy thing to achieve.
I wonder if they've got an evac as well. Hopefully teams start to rotate. They might be able to hit a late evac and just hoping they find a corner to get a Newcastle wall down, but And when you're relying on hope, it's never a good thing. NRG trying to force their way through flat at the moment. But flat are not budging. 10 seconds until this zone closes.
NRG using every little nook and cranny they can find at the moment just to stay alive before they have to make that dreaded move. They will have to push through flat. If they can get through flat, there's a lot of space ahead of them, and maybe they can create some sort of base to work with.
Uh-oh.
So they're
right. Gotta worry about Stallions now.
Stallions, yeah.
Stallions are wrapping right alongside them. And NRG have the zone at their back. It's a tough move for them, but here come Envy. They have to make their move forward as well, and they know that they can expect to fight. As you can see, Zap's got the Sheila out already.
Deeds just went down, by the way, so one of VDR already eliminated. I mentioned them, but now here comes Envy. Here comes Zap. Here comes Sheila. Does the initial damage. Is it going to be enough? Envy have lost one. Ape Gang go down, as do CTE, but Envy are under pressure here.
Uh-oh. The ult away, trying to just find anywhere to survive, hoping other teams fall around them. Dropped is on his own. VDR have been eliminated in the meantime. 13 squads now remain. Dropped is safe. And you have to wonder if anyone even knows he's in this position. He might be able to squeak a few extra points out here. Stallions, speaking of squeaking out points, well, they've just got into the top 12 in the last second or so. Now might be able to reset here on the Newcastle.
Unsure whether squeaking out points is going to be enough for Envy to take first place, though. Really does open up the door for HUSS, and next to maybe take first would be Liquid Alienware. So we'll have to see how they do. Oblivion, 6th place, 39 points. An outside chance for them to still top this lobby as well. It's NRG and Flat on the other side. Flat are actually caught in between of the two teams, and this might be the end of Flat unless one player can survive. NRG now get involved.
Check a damage output from Timmy, though. Blinks is going to fire the mother load forward. Timmy's going to try and fly out and continue that dominance that he's shown in this fight so far. Gets the shield swap. Has to deal with Falcons now, though. The Q will go down. That lets them reset for now.
Mayhem in the lobby. Falcons now looking to try and draw the blood from the team of NRG, and they do so. NRG eliminated. Falcons up to 12th position. As Unleash, they're in 5th at the moment. They can still do something about this. Stallions go down. 8 squads remain, and Unleash put themselves up into the top 3. Can they chase and hunt down HUSS?
I wonder if they managed to get that Halo. I saw the Halo went down. Oh, Envy are eliminated. That is the 2nd place team who will fall, and Unleash are making a run here. They're into 3rd. Going back to what I was saying about Falcons, though. The Halo went down from the lifeline. Were they able to get Hal back to his feet? That's the big influence on how this game might turn out for them. 100 Thieves still safe down on that low ground. Falcons did get the reset.
HUSS have done so well to just play the survival game here. Hold that #1 position, hold on to these points. But can they add extra points to the overalls here? Skillcase does spot out Falcons, and actually Falcons in a tough spot now because there are plenty of eyes on. They're just hoping there's not going to be a Kraber to take them out.
Well, here comes Sheila! Or maybe not, because Sheila just got destroyed. And Jet's lucky that he didn't as well. Dupe. Trying to find a little bit of an angle here. Unleash have just been eliminated in 7th place. Overall, we're into our top 6.
Falcons on lifeline, into the top 6. Whether they meant to be on lifeline or not, that's up for debate, but they are certainly making it work, but HUSS are making it a tough ask for them to stay alive right now. Sky nades go up.
Where are these going to land? There they're going to land right on top of Falcons. The Halo goes down, but here comes Dupe with a big swing, but he's not getting much damage here, but his teammates are alongside him. Can they hold here? Jenny's full shields. Dupe is trying to survive. Falcons are holding somehow or other here. 100 Thieves also getting involved in this fight. Dupe is now going to scarborough away, try and play his lives as 100 Thieves will clean up his teammates, but Dupe is still in this game.
That does eliminate one of the closer teams that were trying to chase HUSS, and maybe the writing's on the wall for our winner of this series now. One of the best series we've watched, really, of Apex Legends in Americas throughout Pro League history. But Liquid Alienware still with an outside chance. 5 squads remaining. A win plus all these kills, maybe they can overtake HUSS. As HUSS have been eliminated in 5th position.
HUSS are eliminated. They're gone. And you never know. You never know. If you can clear the lobby, the Liquid Alienware might be able to steal one here. locked in with one player remaining. That's going to be Rambo. We've seen him shimmy and shake as a solo before and pull off the almost impossible. 100 Thieves still alive as well, and Empire will close out your top 4.
100 Thieves in 5th position as well. They have a chance to push their way into the top 3 here and put some points on the board. Been so tight, this lobby. Liquid Alienware hold the north, and actually, there is still a member of Locked In alive just north of them, and it's a solo rat. We have seen this before. This time it's Rambo, though. Can he impact this final circle? Has he spotted him out?
Just spotted him out. It just went around the corner, though. They can't commit to it. They can't drop because they know even though it's 1 KP, they need more than that.
Wait, have they seen him? Are they just pinging ahead of a spot where they can drop? Rambo might have...
I think they have seen him.
No, they haven't. Rambo's behind them.
Rambo's behind them, and they didn't know. Rambo might take down Liquid on his own here. Elsewhere, 100 Thieves. Takedown locked in, and 100 Thieves will claim the final game, but how will the final standings look after that? Rambo might have just single-handedly broken the hearts of Liquid Alienware. Oh, I tell you what, I don't miss the Scan Legends, because things like that don't happen with them.
I mean, at first, when I saw Niesel looking down, when I saw the pings, I was like, yeah, surely they know. But then I realized he was pinging ahead of the spot where they were going to jump on. And Rambo must just watched them come down and said, well, I guess I have to shoot him at this point. There is too much backside to ignore. And 100 Thieves come out on top in what happened very quickly. And I think 100 Thieves might have just pushed their way into the top 2, but we will wait for the final standings to come through. And who better to walk us through the final standings than the beautiful man that is Rain Day?
Oh, thank you so much, Dan. And Mark, you guys had a run there. You know, normally it's a little bit of time that I get off. I come back here. We talk about the end of the day. It feels like we had a second back half to close it out. But you know what? Maybe it was worth it because we got that little special moment there with Rambo. Let's take a look at the match results and how that ended up impacting Liquid Alienware and their attempt, obviously going from, you know, a 3rd place or 2nd place and getting taken out early. It could be the difference if it's just 1, 2, or 3 points that decide whether they're going to be able to claim victory over HUSS or if HUSS will hold on. And as we look at our series results, the answer will become evident. It is HUSS that finds a way to stay on top. 57 points. They are your winners here in our Pro League for day number 1 in the Americas. Mark, it's just a testament, not just to anybody in the openness of this lobby, but also the fact that Dupe is back where many of his fans and this crew believes he belongs.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal performance from HUSS. I think that final game, the way they managed it and approached it was very impressive as well. It's a great zone read from them early on as well that just kept them ahead of a lot of the traffic that was rotating in from that southern side. And 100 Thieves with the win in that final game puts them into 2nd place as well. So a great day's work from those 3 gentlemen. The new lineup looking very good.
Yeah, I think 100 Thieves have to be pretty confident with the fact that, you know, they didn't get everything right all the time, but they did show that they were relevant in these final zones and they were getting to good spots. And, you know, obviously you take a look at what could have happened with Jin Burton and Sykes. That 1v1, I mean, that's the difference right there between probably winning and being in, you know, 2nd, 3rd place and finding a way that, you know, hey, these are the little things we need to work on now. But if we do this, we are probably where we want to be. It's a great start for 100 Thieves, and also it's a great finish for some of our players here who have tallied up some kills across the day, and that's why we always love to shout them out. It's our Sony in-zone kill leader time, and let's see who took the cake in match day number 1. It was Big Zap with 19 kills overall on the side of Envy, and while there's so many different shout out Zainu, Skittle Cakes, Hal, especially with the performance that we saw Falcons have that wasn't, you know, not what you would like as Falcons, still finding a way to get there, but it was Envy leading themselves into a great spot here. And of course, Zap holding it down with the P20s across the board. And this is just a sign of a player who's, I think, Mark, been on everybody's radar, continues to perform, continue to say, this is kind of the guy that I am, so get used to it. I'm going to be staying around and performing at this level.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit more comfortability on the role that he has on this team as well with Envy, not having to essentially IGL. He's got dropped. He's going to do that job for him. He can kind of, co-RGL a little bit or give a little bit of secondary information, but he can just concentrate on what he's best at, right? And that's killing people. And you can see that from the performance today from him. 19 kills, quite considerable distance between him and the rest of the lobby. So it looks like Zap's found a comfortable spot that he feels he can play his best Apex.
6 assists, 4.6 thousand damage. Zap, congrats on being our Sony in-zone kill leader. Dan, it also gives us a lot, of confidence looking at a team like NV. You have the org coming in, and there's expectations with that to perform at this level. Obviously, to get that accolade, that means a lot, not just for them, but also setting the tone that in North America things are wide open, no matter what you've done in the past heading into this new year.
Yeah, I think there was all the talk about the super teams that have formed or whatever, and obviously we'll move on from that narrative very quickly because there's just so many teams that are good in this region. I think that has been proved today looking at the top end of that leaderboard, but you can't count out any of the teams that struggle today. I think that's also something you need to look at, that a lot of the teams that are considered at the top will learn very quickly and will adapt very quickly as well. But Envy take the plaudits with Zap, certainly, but you've also got to look at HUSS taking the overalls, and some of the fights they were able to win today have been incredible.
And I think, too, when you come into a pro league like this, you are kind of rolling the dice in terms of what's going to work. You have a game plan. You know what's worked in scrims. Maybe there's a version of you where the lights are on and your scrim performance doesn't indicate how well you're going to perform here on the day. But there's also an element that we're taking some guesses. Some teams had a little bit of a strategy coming into it. We saw Caustics play it a little bit more consistently, even in game 4 and game 5. Obviously, instead of having to get to game 6 to be able to use that and throw all those back pocket picks out, is there something that teams are going to look back and say, well, maybe it didn't quite go our way and we could have adjusted that earlier? Do we want to come into next week with a different strategy and play some characters that aren't going to get banned so that we can kind of have more consistency? What was our real issue? Because, this is kind of that learning process, and there's not that long to learn. Remember, unlike most of our splits, this year 5 is changing everything. And in the middle of our Pro League split 1, we're going to be going into the open. In just about a month, it's going to be literally testing these theories, Mark. So you don't have as much time to go through a full 10-week pro league to iterate, and you have to kind of try to be right on it.
Yeah, get it right early, otherwise you're not going to be performing. And I mean, we talk about getting to a finals lobby and how tough that is a normal ALGS land when we have 60 teams. There's 160 teams to get through if you want to be in one of those finals lobbies. It's an achievement in itself. I mean, when you say it like that, you realize the scale of the ALGS Open, and I think you're completely right. It's find a way and find a way quickly, because otherwise, you're going to get to that event second guessing yourself, and you quite simply cannot be second guessing yourself with so many teams there who are looking to prove a point. So I think it's a really tough ask of the players. A lot of changes for this year, a lot of changes for this season, and you got to be on it.
Yeah, I mean, it feels almost like we have entered into a phase of Apex where we're continuing to showcase people's ability to adapt, but also, allowing ourselves to have new experiences from whether the challenge is just winning a game versus now it's dealing with some of these player bans, dealing with the new maps that are coming into this, dealing with the new schedule that's going on. It is a high task and challenge for our pros to be able to adapt to that and stay consistent throughout it. But that's what makes it even more important and special when we do see those teams rise up to the occasion. We saw Infinite win earlier on. We saw HUSS win here in the Americas. 2 names we didn't have at the start of it, but so glad that we have them now, and certainly will be keeping our attention over the next few weeks. And speaking of that, someone who's demanded all of our attention is the man himself, Mr. Duplex. What is up, Mr. Duplex? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Feeling good.
Feeling good. Obviously, you have been a part of the ALGS for so long now. You've been having your ups, you've had your downs, you've had teams that have worked and teams, that haven't worked. How do you feel about HUSS here? Obviously, the win, got to be a huge confidence boost. But how do you feel going into year 5 with this squad? And what were some of the reasons why you feel good about it?
Well, I'm feeling very confident in Skittle Cakes and Gent. It was kind of a last-minute decision, and we, it was a little group effort to form the roster together. But yeah, I feel confident playing with Skittles because obviously we played before. We were co-IGL. We're still co-IGLing, and Gent's a great addition to the team. Plus, we did the rank 1 grind a lot, so we played for a good amount of time so far.
That's amazing, Dupe. Now, I've got kind of a two-part question. The second one is more serious than the first. The first one is, would you say that all of your fortunes in Apex have changed since I fixed your audio?
Yes, I remember that. I
told you.
I went through hell and back, and you fixed my audio and technical audio issues so well. Still haven't changed anything, so I appreciate you for that.
See, I told everyone. Dan kind of gave me a little bit of a raised eyebrow, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" But see, it's true. The second part is I love asking players about the legend bans and how it is to adapt game to game. How are you finding it? Are you finding it a lot of fun? Are you finding it extremely challenging? I mean, talk to me about the mentality of the legend bans and how you've got to adapt as a team.
The legend bans, I think, is a great addition to the game. It mixes it up a little bit. So, but yeah, you got to do a little more head thinking and think about like all the other regions as well if we do go to LAN. So it's kind of a lot of thinking, you know, like what you're gonna play. You don't even know what's banned until the game's over. But playing through scrims, like games 1 through 3, like we know what exactly is gonna get banned, and we worked around it. And we put our heads together, and just I think it's a great addition to the game. So I'm happy about the legend bans.
Now, obviously, HUSS are unsigned at the moment. Dupe, what would you have to say to any organizations that are watching as to why you should be picked up as a squad?
We have the passion, you know, we work day and night, you know, we play ranked a lot, and there's a lot of behind the scenes. So we're working, you know, to get signed. So we put a lot of work behind the scenes that nobody knows about. Just me, Skittle, Jet, and Aiden. Aiden's our coach, if anybody knows him. Aiden the Destroyer.
How could you forget?
Well, I gotta say, yeah, exactly. I mean, and also I gotta say that it's gonna be well worth it. Whoever picks you up when you guys are at the open and the whole crowd is yelling "Dupe," that's gonna be a viral moment right there. It'll pay back all your salaries. So Orcs, pick this guy up and pick this squad up. Obviously, our winners of today, HUSS. Congratulations, and of course, Dupe, great job. We look forward to seeing what you guys can keep doing in Pro League.
Thank you.
All right, that was Duplex from HUSS.
Such clear audio.
All thanks to Onset. You know,
was that you? I mean, what you know, moonlighting as a audio tech? What's going on here?
Look, I've set up enough audio for people that I work on shows with to probably qualify at this point. And like I said, my rates have now increased from nothing to
He's
we'll
expensive,
talk in the
guys.
DMs. If you want to get your audio fixed and win weeks of the ALGS, I'm here for you.
All right,
man,
that's a selfless and a very good sell, I would say there. Guys, closing things out, I know I just talked with you about that, Mark, but what a day we just saw. Day one, it did not disappoint in the year 5 beginning.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best opening days that we've ever had in the Pro League. It felt so fresh, so exciting. Every game was different. I mean, the real highlight for me was we had almost exactly the same zone on Storm Point, and every game felt different. It still felt different because everybody had to approach the zone differently due to the legend bans. I think if you're a fan of Apex and you've watched for a long time, you probably feel the same way, that this is very, very fresh. But if you're new to Apex as well, there's so much to be excited about as well. We got the open just around the corner as well. I think it's a really great time for comp Apex, and I'm looking forward to what I feel could genuinely be one of the best years of the ALGS ever.
Dan, I'm sure you share pretty similar sentiments to that. What a day, what a start here in year 5. I don't think it could have gone any better. And also legend bans, clearly a hit, not just from us watching, people watching, but also the players.
Yeah, I mean, I could repeat everything Onset has just said, but I had fun. I think, like, it's not that I haven't had fun before, but it's always a good indication if I'm smiling ear to ear every single game because there's something new, there's something unexpected. The players are doing crazy stuff as well. Kraber shots being hit left, right, and center, rats staying alive, people going for different legends. I mean, it was just such a perfect way to start year 5, and I cannot wait to see what happens throughout the rest of Pro League. And of course, be in New Orleans and see the ALGS Open with 160 teams. You heard it right. It's going to be unbelievable.
I mean, how are we going to take a shuttle? That's what I'm worried about. The traffic for the shuttle somehow. But guys, we'll deal with that or let somebody else. One of our team members are obviously great at setting all that up for us. And you guys have been great at setting up this wonderful showcase of day one. So take a break and enjoy the rest of your evenings, guys. That's been Onset and Gaskin. Appreciate you guys. And let's close it all out. For all of you who've been watching at Twitch and at YouTube, at X, just know that while today is ending, there's still more coming up next week. That's right. Next weekend, we have match day 2, 6 p.m. BST, 1 p.m. EST, and 10 a.m. PST. For those on the West Coast like me, we'll be talking about how these legend bands have impacted day 1 all the way up until then. And of course, that will lead us after a few weeks to our May 1 through 4th New Orleans LAN. 160 teams at the first Apex Legends Global Series Open. You want to grab your tickets, scan that QR code right now and be a part of it. Everyone always asks me, should I go? I've never been to a LAN that wasn't better than the LAN beforehand. Somehow we keep outdoing ourselves. That's just, I guess, in the name of the game for Apex Legends. What a great start here to year 5. I am always so grateful for the team that we have, our talent back home, who you'll be seeing next weekend and throughout this league, our talent here today, and Onset and Gaskin, and of course, all of the people behind the scenes who make it possible, and the lovely game Respawn. Even though we're done here, you can go ahead and load up Apex and play yourself. My name has been Rain Day. I appreciate you guys, and as always, never give up, never stop gaming, and we'll see you all on match day 2.